category, even though...
Yeah, they don't. No.
Not everyone's a Grandmaster. But that doesn't mean these stars...
Greetings everyone, sorry for interrupting your hype video over there, but today is not an ordinary day. Today is the match between Greg Shahade and Lawrence Trent, and boy, does these two have a history together. My name is Wouter Big, also known as Bigfoot. I am your producer for today, and also, back in the day I used to host grud matches between these two players, and these were fire, really good, nice trash talk, and before this match started, I said we just hop back in time and see how they did back then.
I feel like oh yes, that's a point, baby. Whoa, that's a point. I gave you the free pawn. You're a disgrace. You're a disgrace. Do it. That's a point gained. Another one. You are a disgusting human being. I tell you.
Never heard anyone
give up this game. I might blunder. You might have your tricks, your G4s, and your rook 8. Oh, I'm wonderful. My rook D7. Look how wonderful I am. You have played one. You have not outplayed me from start to finish in one single game. You are a disgrace to your family. Okay, Jen, Michael, I know you're watching. I'm sorry that Greg shares the same genetics as you. I promise you. After this, he's retired. Finished! Finito! Finish!
Greg Shahade versus Lawrence Trent. Will Lawrence Trent finally strike back with the 2-0 deficit that he faces? These two have been bickering back and forth on Twitter and Instagram, but Lawrence has been very, very silent. And I know why, ladies and gentlemen. My man has been preparing for this match.
This is how I play.
Welcome to the IM Not a GM Speed Chess Championship. I'm Grandmaster Robert Hess. Alongside me today is Grandmaster Aman Hamilton. And Aman, I don't think we have to introduce the players after that video that we just saw.
I think they introduced themselves. People have come to expect, a certain type of rivalry between Lawrence Trent and Greg Shahade. And Robert, I think if that video was any indication, we're certainly in for that today.
Yeah, can we just get them to play over and over and over again? I know we have an entire rest of the bracket, but I feel like the people would love their nonstop trash talk.
Absolutely. I mean, that sells a match on its own. These guys are natural promoters. However, the match score in the past is a little imbalanced in Greg's favor, Robert.
Yeah, it is indeed. And Lawrence was doing the talking, but his moves were not, because Greg Shahade has beaten him both times in their matches. And it's the 4 versus 13 matchup. Aman, we know in March Madness in college basketball, that is a right pick for the upset. Right. But today, do you think Lawrence can finally get over the hump?
And I think Lawrence, knowing Lawrence, he'd be offended that he's even the underdog, like he just wouldn't view himself that way. I know that both of these guys think they can beat the other one, and they have no doubt in their minds about it. We see the Smarter Chess stats to compare exactly what we're talking about, but I think he's got every chance today for an upset, Robert, because Lawrence Trent, he's got nothing to lose at this point. The score is 0-2 in Greg's favor. He's a low rated seed, so I feel like he's coming in with that dark horse perspective.
Although look at their ratings, because they have the same 4 numbers, but not in the same order. So the Blitz rating heavily in Greg's favor. And whose trash talk game is higher rated?
Honestly, that's a good question, but I feel like if you had to be higher rated in trash talk or higher rated in chess, I feel like I'd take chess most of the time. Trent, based on the video, certainly seems higher rated in trash talk, because you can see the prediction there. The 5+1 predicted to be the most imbalanced 5-1 to 3-1, with Lawrence having the best chances in bullet. Is that how you see the match, Robert?
I think that Greg has to be the better bullet player by quite a margin. I don't think Lawrence really practices bullet, but we know he's been trying to get that Grandmaster title. He put some tweets out about that. So maybe part of that GM workload is playing bullet chess. And I don't think so, but maybe it's possible.
Yeah, no, he's definitely going to be
minutes,
in chess shape, though.
So roughly halfway through, we'll take a short break.
Pushing for the GM title. And Greg, like, I just always view Greg in these where he's the 4th seed in this tournament, but in this format overall, I just feel like he's such a sturdy, solid player. Like, doesn't get in tremendous time trouble. So I'm expecting a solid performance.
So be ready.
These
And the game's
I like to look at them.
What's up?
Match, buddy.
Good luck. Good luck.
Good luck.
And you can see these two getting ready. Greg is dancing.
All right, here we go.
The party's about to begin. And I mean, Lawrence, where is he right now with the lovely
He could
lights
be in
behind him?
Iceland.
Yeah.
But could be the Northern Lights behind him.
Well, the action is off, and we have a Caro-Kann, all pawns, no hope.
Greg, he rocked the glasses for about 4 seconds there, and then they're immediately off. As it's time for the chess classes, the business classes.
He's ready to play. We have a queen, bishop e6. Do you know this, Aman?
I've seen it, but I can't say I know it.
Mouse slip on the way over to f5 or g4, maybe?
Knight c5, knight takes b7. You can often get your knight trapped in there with queen b6, which is good to know, but that would be a funny mouse slip already, yeah.
Maybe he's just trying to confuse Greg, and I'm confused, but I guess the idea is knight takes knight on e4, followed by bishop to d5, and centralizing that piece while attacking the queen. So it does make sense, it just is odd.
Yeah, it makes sense, it just doesn't make sense. D4 doesn't look like the right reaction in my head. It just feels like this is exactly, as you outlined, this is exactly what Black is looking for from the opening. And hey, I mean, he's going to go for that pawn. You can see Greg's face. He's kind of wincing as a chess player, like, man, are you really taking my pawn there?
He just wants to relive that video, roles reverse, right? Lawrence is like, I blundered a pawn in the opening and you still couldn't beat me. And that's maybe what's going to happen in game 1 here.
Yeah, we're off to a good start here, guys. This will be a very imbalanced game. Check out the time. I mean, Lawrence he's very much I could call it prep. I mean, this is clearly an opening theme that he's worked on. And he's saying, look, I'm happy to take this pawn. I'm up a minute, going on a minute and a half.
Yeah, and I don't see the full compensation. Of course, we love ourselves a good bishop pair, but that knight comes to d7 into e5 next, Amon, and that's going to take that bishop on d3. So this looks terrible for Greg. He's
awful.
played a very bad start to this match.
Yeah, you probably need to go like c3 here. I mean, it's just not looking good no matter what. It's solid for Black. Even in the worst case scenario, Black's going to get developed and castled. Like, usually in these systems where you lose a pawn here. Oh my goodness. I didn't think he would allow this, but yeah, I was going to say, usually in these systems where you lose this d pawn, you kind of castle queenside, right? And get your rook immediately to the d file, but he's not getting any of that.
No, he's not. And these positions usually are solid for Black, as you were saying, when White still has a pawn on d4 and the Black pawn goes to e6, which is a solid Scandi. Here, This is a situation where Black has an extra pawn, and White really has nothing to show for it. There's not even a pawn you can attack. If you could play a2 to a6 in one turn, yeah, then you'd be happy, but that's a mile away.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see the eval bar it's thinking the same thing. It's like, hey, I see the extra pawn, and I see nothing, not a shred of compensation. Sure, you could say White's got the bishop pair, and believe me, Greg is going to be clinging to that as he hopes that that's enough compensation, but I'm not sure that it is. You could even consider f5 here.
Oh my goodness.
F5 move? Maybe bishop takes. A little too much.
But that is pretty clever over there. And I was going to say that maybe White needs to go for bishop f4 and take that knight on e5. Just go opposite colored bishops. You're down a full pawn. It's still horrible. You'll have to grovel for a draw. But I think that's Greg's best chance.
Right. Yep. Sometimes you got to make those concessions. Say, look, I'm giving up all my chances of winning this game, but increasing my chances of drawing.
And knight g4, so h3 kicks the knight back to f6, and I guess Lawrence didn't like the configuration of his pieces with that knight a little bit loose on e5. So it looks fine. from Lawrence's perspective, but I think bishop b2 will be seen after this bishop retreat move, and maybe bishop takes f6.
Right, and it seemed to me like, I mean, he's all over the dark squares here. You plant that bishop in on c3 and maybe get castled. This just looks really unpleasant for Greg. His bishop's taking some key squares.
Yeah, great decision by Lawrence to go bishop b4 and c3. I mean, look at this position. Now he
Dominant.
castles queenside. He's completely dying, but I think now's the time for bishop g5, Aman. And there it is. He needs to get rid of that knight. He cannot allow that to remain on the board.
Yep. Still dominant. Like, if you think of this position in terms of, you know, for black, yeah, you got that extra pawn, but do you have much more than that, right? You got to think how you're going to expand. Your extra pawn is on the E file. You're not really going to be making a pass pawn anytime soon. So we'll have to see how Lawrence's technique is, Robert, because I think this game is all about technique. There's loads of time for the players. It's easy to make moves, but how is he going to actually break through and take this to the next level where it's a winning advantage?
Yeah, he's definitely going to consider rook takes d3 in exchange sacrifice for a second pawn. You have to be completely sure that's right, because then the rooks would be traded into rook versus a bishop and a couple pawns. That could actually be a losing decision for black. So look at Lawrence go. He's bringing his king in. That king's going to c5 to b4 to a3 and maybe even to b2 there. Uh-oh.
Then your idea of sacking that rook is like lethal, because all these pawns might just drop.
Yes, and rooks need open files. That rook now on d1 protecting the bishop, and maybe bishop e2. Good decision by Greg. And look at you, bishop d2. Oh, that's just mean.
Yeah, I think bishop d2 is cruel. Then you bring your king in.
Oh, this looks really, really awful for white.
Maybe bishop d2, bishop d3?
Yeah, that might be the only way to fight on at this point.
Right. Yeah, so he'll do this. I think he'll do bishop d3. Yeah, that's key.
I'm almost tempted to play rook takes d3, honestly.
I know. It really looks close to working.
Oh, bishop back to e2, likely. Or f4 you could throw in, but he goes bishop.
Yeah, I was thinking f4 because you almost force the exchange of rooks, which is what you want.
And I think Lawrence is going to take a think here, because this is a really big decision. And all jokes aside, these are two excellent chess players. And so Lawrence is trying to map out, is that trade of rooks followed by what Aman is showing you, that king infiltration to c3, will that lead to a win, or is white just in time to hold all the pawns together?
What's your instinct? Because my gut feeling is that black has enough.
Yeah, it does feel that way. But like, the question is, let's say that bishop goes back to d3 after the trade. Then how is black going to win that game? Because you're going to need to push your pawn to e4 to dislodge the bishop from d3, something like that. It seems a bit far away.
So in these endgames, what's always really uncomfortable is black can always force a pass pawn. It's really unpleasant. They play a5, king b4, and b5, and white has no way to deal with that. Black always gets an outside passed a pawn, and it's just like really unpleasant.
That looks like a way to go. Yeah, no, that's a very direct idea, because rook d1, bishop d1, king b4, my idea was that the bishop would come back around to d3 to be actively defending the c2 pawn. But as you're pointing out, a5, b5, that springs free the passer, and the white king all the way on g2 is too far away to deal with it.
And you know, even that doesn't even need to win a pawn. So black doesn't need to win material there. Even if white has a passed c pawn and black has a passed a pawn, if you're the side that's up a pawn in an opposite bishop endgame, you want imbalances. So you'd rather give your opponent a passed pawn if you can get one as well.
And the evaluation bar, it's still in black's favor, but the bishop's coming out, and this is forced. The bishop cannot stay passively on d1. That would have been immediately losing. And now you want Aman's plan with a5, king before b5. You also would like to play f5 and pawn e4 all at once. But the issue is, as soon as you go f5, you can't move that e6 pawn very easily. It gets stuck in its tracks.
So this is, g4 I really dislike. This is a similar plan that he's doing here. So if it takes, he's going to take with the c pawn and then go king b4 and a5 and a4, I think.
But what about bishop e4 here? Because now if you force c5, then you trade on b5, and no longer is there that outside pass pawn potential.
Right. So bishop e4, you'd have to take on a4 and then probably play c5. And I think you still have some chances there, because it's still a little bit awkward to defend the pawns.
Yeah, although then the white king starts marching through f3 to e2, and if you ever go after the a4 pawn, bishop slides up to c6. I feel like bishop e4 is the moment here Otherwise, it will pass, and then white's in trouble.
Agreed. And I want to point out, I think king d4 was incorrect. I think king b4 threatens king c3, and in this position, if your king gets to c3, we get it's the same position, but you don't have to play king c3. You can immediately go with my plan of a5, b5. So you sort of save a move by going king b4 first rather than king d4.
And if you want to just put those moves on the board, like the a5, b5 stuff, it's pretty forcing, right? Like bishop e2, a5. How are you going to stop this plan? Right? It's just very straightforward, and you see the evaluation bar go all the way down in black's favor because that's an outside passer that white cannot handle.
So we'll keep up with the game here. Bishop e4 played, and okay, this is a disaster.
Yes.
So c5, anytime, this is like immediate draw because there's no outside pass pawn. There's no, you can't get anything going there. So.
And what's the idea for Lawrence? Because bishop e4, he wants g6 and f5 to kick that bishop away from the c2 pawn. But great move by Greg. You can't win c2 without dropping c4 now. Yeah.
This is just permanent. I mean, the position's not great for Greg. You could have even gone f5 there, but white knows, like, he can literally sit there and do nothing.
And that's exactly how this game is probably going to conclude. Bishop e2, bishop f1, back and forth. And if black plays c3, the bishop goes to d3 and has a new home. So this is equal.
He's going to get the pawns going, of course. Yeah. You can't take with the king. That's one thing. You got to stay defending that pawn.
And now we have dark squared bishop, light square h1. And so
what is this? Wait, hang on a sec. The bishop needed to go out here.
Oh, wait, no, this is a draw. Oh, because the e-pawn, duh. Oh my goodness. He allowed the e-pawn to go. I think Greg forgot about that.
So, I mean, that's pretty instructive. Lawrence definitely wasn't winning that game, but let's remember, he was putting pressure on. Greg only had seconds on the clock. And when you have to find only moves, it's not a position you want to be in.
Wow. I mean, he didn't bring his bishop to the right spot. And so Greg Shahade loses that game after fighting, clawing back. He had a good chance to hold, but Lawrence, 1 point lead right now. And I think Greg, he's pretty quiet now. And it's not just because he feels like he's the favorite in the match.
Yeah. No, that last game, I was just thinking about it. Pretty tricky stuff, but basically the bishop on e2 was hitting the c4 pawn, and white needed to do the exact same thing with the e pawn. He had to bring his bishop to attack the e pawn, so black's king couldn't get in. Just didn't do it in time, Robert, and Lawrence is going to take a win that you can't say is undeserved either. I mean, great opening, took a free pawn, was always better, and put pressure on time. I mean, that's how you win a blitz game.
Yeah, it was well done by Lawrence. He caught him by surprise. And I think as this match goes on, we will no longer see that bishop e6 move. It may be for the surprise element, but it worked perfectly. He won a pawn. And now in game two, Aman, we see this setup that we're well accustomed to in online play. Hikaru Nakamura plays these setups all the time. White controls the e5 square. And look at Greg trying to gain some space on the queen side, but I think this is a mistake strategically. That a4 pawn is going to be a long-term problem.
Yeah, this looks wrong. C4 looks like kind of crushing to me. C4 looks very strong. Lawrence has played it. I don't like Greg's position at all. He's going to have to take this most likely and then play queen c7, but it's really rough.
Yeah, he might even play queen d8 just to keep his queen out of danger. Right. But that pawn on a4, it might just be lost. I mean, you could maybe take the bishop on d6, play bishop b5, win that pawn. I wouldn't do that. I think that plays into black's hands. And the one thing that Greg has to do, well, two things. One is play more quickly because he's down a minute on the clock. And two, just give his opponent that isolated pawn and play around it.
Agreed. Because this move, number one, like a nice easy plan, let's say you need one, is you play c5, queen moves somewhere, and like bishop b5 or bishop c2, and just try to take the pawn. I think there's better ways to play, but this is like, it is a simple one, and it looks like it gets a pawn.
Yeah, if we're playing Yasser chess, just greedy.
Exactly.
And I mean, great decision by Lawrence. And look at how quickly he's playing. He's very confident with his chess, and for good reason. He's playing great moves.
Yeah. No, he's pretty focused right now, you can tell. He's got the the Windows screensaver behind him, keeping him focused here.
Oh gosh, and bishop d7, bishop takes a4. There might be some knight takes d4 stuff, but I don't think it's going to work out for black because that knight on f6, at the end of the day, if that bishop captures there, the black king will be in shambles.
Yeah, G3. This is going to force the bishop to go to H6. Not a great diagonal. He's probably looking at some bishop takes and getting some fancy some moves working, but I don't think they are. Is he trying to go knight E4?
I guess.
Yeah,
Can
I can
White
see
even
that.
consider knight takes d2 here and just?
Right. Yeah, I think knight takes D2 and just stick to that plan of winning that pawn.
Yeah, now Black, can he make, just to try to take over the light squares, knight a7, if those bishops come off, which White should not do, then Black could start seizing control of the light squares in this position.
So I'll put your knight A7. So let's say bishop goes back. Then you could consider maybe bishop B5.
Exactly.
This is sort of what you're saying, Robert. It's maybe not the best position, but it's better than it was. And you've got some play on the light squares positionally.
And you bury that bishop on b2, because this is a great decision by Lawrence to retreat the bishop to d3. And we see this in some French defenses, right, where Black's bishop is behind pawns, but if you can trade those light square bishops, then you're in great shape. Oh gosh,
This is
yeah.
the thing about a knight is, like, when you anchor it like this, you know, you give up that e5 square, so there's no pawns on D or F files that can attack, and White can kick your knight out. So you're basically not even securing your own square, and you're giving up a full e5 square to your opponent. So not looking good here for Greg, just positionally.
No, it's like a horrendous stonewall. The good thing for Greg, though, is that there's no knight for White. So your e5 square, that's a vulnerable one, but an f4 knight would be great, but knights can't just reappear unless you promote to the other side. So here for Greg, he's trying to figure out where to move the knight. Knight f6.
So we can definitely tell that this isn't a great position. The unfortunate thing is if you play the other rook to e8, bishop b5 hits you like a truck, and you can't just toss that pawn. Now, the thing is, I think Greg wants to try a plan of, it's crazy, but g5, g4, and like try to iron out, you know, carve out this e4 square for the knight. It's a long shot, but I think that's definitely an idea.
And I think Lawrence is ready to meet g5 with g4 of his own, because then the f5 pawn is loose, and if that pawn's not there, you're not getting control of e4. So Lawrence could have gone for the a4 pawn. He's playing on the king side instead of rook e2, rook e1. He has all the time in the world.
And that's a great point, and it's something to remember. Like, you know, a lot of other players might rush, like queen d1, bishop c2. I got to cash this in, but maybe that would give Black that counterplay that they need. Look, if things get traded off in this game, Robert, that pawn is sitting there waiting for you on a4 in every position.
For sure. I mean, look at Greg's moves, knight e7. It's not like he made a bad move there. He probably wants to go knight g6 to f8 or something like that just to defend his weakness on e6. But the position is like hopeless for Black in terms of active strategies.
Yep. I would even consider just, you know, simply doubling the rooks, and I think that's what he's going to do. It's like a basic plan. Just get that in there. Queen f1. Hey, don't forget about that threat.
Oh, goodness. And another problem for Black is, you know, usually you need a pawn break of some sort. e5 is extra well covered. And if you play b6 and b takes c5, White will play d takes c5, and that bishop on b2 will be thrilled.
That's right.
Oh, gosh. This is...
Yeah, and this is brutal because this move is going to hit something regardless. So Black has to displace both of his pieces just to deal with this.
Yeah. And he's thinking, and he goes rook to d8. So he figures the e6 pawn will be defended by his knight when all is said and done, but oh goodness.
He's not wrong, but so if White wants to win a pawn, you know, queen e2 hits e6, queen d1, it does just pick that up. But I think Lawrence is definitely on a different wavelength, right? He's not interested in just winning that pawn. That's there for him later. He's putting pressure. He's probably going to consider bishop to c1 here, if I had to guess.
That's a fan. I mean, Lawrence is playing great. You made a great suggestion. G5, G4 was about to happen. And that was Black's only hope at counterplay, which is why Greg went H6. But now the bishop can't even go to D6 Amon to take that knight on F8 and get the E6 pawn.
I mean, you know, in those like cartoons where, you know, everything's gone wrong for the main character, the protagonist, and it's like, well, at least it can't get any worse. And then it starts thunderstorming or something.
Yeah.
That feels like what's happening to Greg's position here.
He needs to play rook takes D6. It's still going to be completely lost, but what else
So
can you
gross.
do? Yeah. You don't really have a choice at this point.
Yeah, and then also the move G4 is maybe also going to appear on the board as well. Queen F6. Hey, there's a threat.
Yeah, for once all game.
One move.
And now the pawn's protected. So I don't see what you can do anymore except for rook takes d6, and that's still completely losing.
And be careful. In some cases, you almost lose your knight over there. Oh, that's just, yeah, okay. It's done. It's done. Wrap it up. I think he's even trapping his queen here with f4, bishop e2.
Yeah, I think he was doing spirit fingers for a second there, and I mean, he's got to wave himself goodbye because he is going to be down 2-0 after this one.
This is so dead.
Oh my gosh! Even bishop d3. Look at that king.
h4 just wins, right? Because g3 is actually defended.
Yeah, good point. The bishop on d6.
I think that's what he was setting up with king h1. But I mean, Greg is going to go nowhere fast in this match with positions like this because he's getting under time pressure, and Lawrence is winning just clean on the board.
Yeah, 2-0 for Lawrence Trent, and he came ready to play. Look at that. He's farming Greg. He is farming Greg Trent.
What has he gained? Like 75 ratings since they started?
He has, yeah. Oh gosh. And look, Greg, he already switches his first move of the game.
Yeah, what was their opening last game actually when Greg was white?
The Karo Khan with bishop e6.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, he doesn't want anything to do with that.
Although this is a very solid line from White's perspective, and if Lawrence is bishop b4, maybe Greg will play his queen c2 in the knight d5 line.
Right. Yeah, this actually is a really tricky line. You can get some pretty quick attacks, even with like h4, knight g5, bishop t3. Like sometimes you just see black getting checkmated for no reason in this line.
Yeah, knight g5 actually forces the move g6 from black, which is not really a move you want to make.
Queen f5, I'm pretty sure this is still theory. Like I've definitely seen this move before.
I've played it multiple times. I think it stems from like a Grishuk Giri game or something like that. And this is the point. So if we bring up the analysis board and just go back for a second.
Yeah.
It looks weird that why would black voluntarily double the own pawns? But if knight takes d5 had been played instead, after c takes d5, and you play the move d6 to attack the queen and protect e5 so you can play knight e7, there's queen e4, and your bishop on d4 is in trouble.
That's a great tactic. And f5 doesn't really save you because you can just go to c4 and maintain the same threat.
That's right. So that's why we got instead the doubled f pawns, and it should objectively be okay for black, but I definitely prefer white in these positions. Yep.
Every Russian schoolboy prefers white here. These pawns present a weakness on f5. You always say occupy and control the square in front of the weakness. So could see in the future something like knight h4 to try to do that. But right now he has to deal with the active pieces from Lawrence here.
Yeah, knight to a4 could be a nuisance just to force that bishop back. And black does have a very solid foundation. And one of the ideas before white castles was actually even to think of a g4 and g5 to open up that side of the board for the rook, because the black king was there and to that point the white king wasn't. But now, yeah,
I think knight a4 and knight c3 is really nice. Getting a bishop.
You're getting the bishop pair for sure.
Yeah, I see. If you get the light squared bishop to me, then black is really okay because this square it's a light square weakness. So if I get the light square bishop, I'm feeling great.
And Lawrence said plays f5, considering e4 in some of these positions, but I'm not enthralled by them in part because the knight a4 was just good. But now, what if white moves that rook away from a1 so the bishop has a spot back on the diagonal to run away to, and then d4 at some point is a move white can strike with.
Yep. Because let's say, okay, yeah, you even strikes with d4 right away. Just the presence of knight a4 had me feeling a little iffy about this.
Yes, I feel iffy about it as well. I think is he gonna play rook a2 here just to defend his bishop on e2 or something like that?
Rook a2 might be very key. Although it's kind of the same if you play rook b1, to be honest.
Yes, then rook b1 is better for sure.
But maybe on rook b1, is there like some f4 move?
Ah, yes, because bishop comes to f5. This
f4 feels like, the right kind of active energy in the position.
And isn't white's position just kind of collapsing here?
I think with f4, it is. Without f4, this might be like a really important moment to just sit there and calculate as black, because if you don't play this tactic and you take here, this is what I was saying. This is a little different. I think white has much better chances, although I still like the way that Lawrence is handling it.
I've been looking at ideas with c5 for white. I don't think they really pan out as much. But the point is you bury that bishop on b6, and then you can take this pawn on e5, and things get really messy in that
Definitely.
situation.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Something like c5 takes, and then like pawn takes e5. Yes,
Right.
you know, double pawns here, but maybe bishop there, knight g5. You have a lot of pressure. It's funny, but the rooks can double in one move.
Mm-hmm. That's what I was looking at, and I just thought that it felt like it gives white a good chance, but it also gives you a really ugly pawn structure for both sides.
Right.
And rook d1. So
Okay, well, I think taking on e3 makes a lot of sense
yes.
for black. Just, you know, undouble your pawns, and hey, you got the bishop pair. I think you've done, you know, you've done all the work you need to do. We might even get another opposite bishop endgame here somehow.
Yeah,
I could see it happen.
Just start taking those pawns and bishop g4 and going after the d4 pawn. That makes sense.
Yep.
But Lawrence, the way his facial expression there, it made me feel like while he's been enjoying his position, he feels a little stuck at the moment.
Yeah, I think d4 was too rash. I just want to back up to that moment where you were mentioning, let's say rook d1. And now you always answer knight a4 with bishop a1. You keep the bishop pair, and yeah, you'll have d4 ready next turn. So I think he just kind of rushed with the d4 plan.
Yeah, Greg definitely did. And I mean, he's shaking his head right now after bishop g4. And how do you deal with this exactly?
So I'm thinking, first of all, h3, like not that big of a deal, because, you know, you immediately hit this b7 pawn. So kind of like h3, just throw that move in, and then then think of the next move here. Find it.
Is there some kind of c5?
I'm liking it.
I'm still kind of hooked on that move.
You know, something like this. Like I was thinking maybe try to get something like this, but it's going to be could be really unpleasant for white.
After f takes e3, then maybe rook takes e3.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah, rook g3 check's coming, and there's knight d7 check after king f8. Like it gets really hectic.
And if you take this one, maybe I take this one. Although that's f6, that's too bad.
That's a
yeah. Okay. Well, that's an interesting line. Let's see if he plays anything close to that. No, he goes king f1, so he's staying really solid. But I think the bishops are gonna feast on this position.
Yeah, that's opening up, and even ed4 and bring that rook into e3. That a3 pawn is loose over there. No, this is going south for Greg.
This is advantage bishops.
For sure. Greg he hasn't found his footing in this match at all. Like Lawrence is just really playing an excellent few games of chess, and it's solid.
Yep. Does he have to play knight takes d4 here? And then like bishop e2, take either king or rook? It feels like you almost have to do that, yeah. Because pawn takes rook e3 was really, I don't know, just didn't seem good at all.
And look at that restraint by Lawrence. You could have traded bishops. He says, let me bring my bishop back to g6. I'm covering
very good move.
f5 square. I'm making sure that e4 push is never available, and e3 becomes in.
What do you think of a4 here?
Oh, so you can just cement that pawn in place and go bishop c5 in the future?
Yeah, I'm really like, maybe it's nothing, but I'm really looking at the move a4. But yeah, I mean, look, he's just keeping it simple here. Can't say anything Lawrence is doing is wrong.
And rook e2, so white's barely holding on. And now maybe your a4 move to play bishop c5.
So what about bishop b7? Like, basically, do we care about that?
Oh,
because if we do, bishop takes d4 could be like, you might be thinking about it to try to play b6 after. I don't know. You really don't want to play that.
Yeah, I don't either. It's good for black in the sense that white has a c4 pawn stuck in a light square, but after b6, then white takes over the d5 square with the bishop. So instead of rook c5, okay,
bishop d5, then you probably come in with the bishop to e4.
And then knight b3, like, uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Might have to, is there some bail? There's not even a bailout move. Time, look at it. Time has been every game, like 2-minute advantage. This is like insane. It's too much.
And I guess there's some tactic here.
Just rook e5.
Rook back to e5, yes. Good call. He needed to play rook d2 to at least force some of the action. Okay, now he can take b7.
Yeah, no, this is something. I don't think that was done the best by Lawrence.
He rushed.
He rushed because if the guy has 14 seconds, you want to keep all the pieces on, right? Lots of tactics, bishops, pins, skewers.
And, you know, I get it. Lawrence, you know, he's feeling it. He knows he has the better position. But that was a moment he could have ended the game. And now the game continues. And even though Greg is down to 11 seconds,
A4, A4, A4.
That's a good move for sure. I think white has good chances to hold this game.
I agree.
And white can play bishop c6, knight c2, go after the d5 pawn. As long as you can keep a3 and e3 covered as best you can, white will have a shot.
So I think as long as he plays a4, I think black should win this this endgame.
Bishop d5 is a threat, so bishop c5 stops the knight e7 check that's keeping that threat alive.
Yeah, bishop c5 is a huge move. Very frustrating as well because that a pawn's just dropping.
So bishop a3, b6, I think is Greg's idea, just to get the a4 pawn. I mean, it doesn't look great.
Oh, okay. If you miss that chance, I think he's kind of toast here.
Yeah, just bishop all the way back to f8 even, and just push the a pawn.
Yep.
Oh, d5's not. Oh, wow. I don't think this works rook e4 check.
Yeah, rook e4 is a great move. Keep in mind here, I bet that rook takes f5 probably might also do the trick, you know, but he's going to keep it controlled. He's got all that time.
And a3, right? Why can't we just push that pawn?
Yeah, you might also want like rook e4, bishop takes, and a3, a2 just for, you know, a secure position, secure victory.
Yeah, blunder free at that point. I agree. I like that. A3.
Okay, well, there goes a pawn as well. He's trying to get rook here and some sort of fancy checkmate, but at this point, yeah, I mean, the king is not getting mated.
I was trying to find any sort of checkmate like you were, and no, there wasn't one in existence. And Greg Shahade slapping his head because he's about to go down 3-0.
And it's really just clockwork for Lawrence. He's managed his time so beautifully that in these moments where if Lawrence had 5 seconds here, there might be blunders happening on both sides, but he's just got so much time at the end to put the finishing touches on a great game.
I'm impressed. Lawrence putting in the work. You know, he made those videos. He didn't seem the most confident in those videos. He kept talking about how he's a name, he's needed in the chess community, all that stuff. But right now, I think Greg needs him to take a break because Lawrence is pummeling him.
Yeah, he is. He is. This is pretty good stuff from Lawrence. The dream start, obviously 3-0 up against Greg as the, you know, paper underdog, but that's the thing with favorites, you know, higher rated players. They can always go into that second gear at any point. And, you know, if Greg starts to find his footing in this match, maybe even like a blunder or a mouse slip, something like that could completely turn the tides.
I agree. I mean, Greg is a phenomenal player. And he's also, I think he needs to feel it. And a lot of players are like that, where they get off to slow starts, but once they get that nice game in, and to be clear, Lawrence has dominated all 3 games that we've seen thus far. It's been a very one-sided match by score, but also by gameplay. And sorry, what is going on here? Another d4 pawn?
I mean, this time it's Lawrence offering. So, you know, he's taking a page out of a book that I'm not sure you're supposed to be reading.
Oh, goodness. Bishop e6 first.
Yeah, that looks like a great move.
I think white's just busted on move.
Yeah, I don't know. Queen c2, I guess you have to play. But there's nothing dangerous that I see here. Remember, knight takes d4, takes, queen takes. You're also a move away from castling.
Oh, goodness. What move are we on, by the way?
Yeah, we're not even on move 10. That's white's 9th move.
Okay, I was just checking. So for the second time today, within the first 10 moves, white is giving away a d4 pawn, and it's not a good decision.
Yeah, surely queen takes.
And knight b5 is the hope, but queen b4 check says...
That's right.
Go right back
Yeah.
to where you came from.
Bishop e3 can be played. Hey, enjoy your tempo, but the queen's going to move, and your bishop can't get out. Black's literally a move away from being fully developed. This is the first game from Lawrence where opening has been like total disaster. It's flipped. He's had the advantage, I think, out of the gate from the last 3 matches.
Remember how we were just saying that Greg just needs to feel confident and
Yeah.
get it? You couldn't have handed him a better opportunity if you were trying. So Lawrence, after 3 excellent games, is starting off horribly in this one. And I mean, look at his face. Like, he's just like, what am I doing?
Yeah, this is just unpleasant. I mean, long castle is going to appear immediately.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, this is a big problem for Lawrence. So he's down a pawn. Black's ahead in development. Bishop g2, if you castle queen's head, maybe you have to worry about your king safety at some moment.
Yeah.
But it's wishful thinking.
I think he's also, you know, when you have a bad position, you have to sort of resort to the creative development process. Maybe rook h4, you know, scare him a little bit with a4, a5 when he castles. I think Greg probably just needs to spend his time here, locate a good plan where he's like, okay, I sort of know how my pieces are going to develop for the next 4 or 5 moves. Once he does that, he'll be able to play with some speed in the middle game here. And I think he's like maybe even a couple of moves away from crushing.
He castles kingside though, allowing hg6 to open that file near his king.
A little odd. Yeah, rook h4. Yeah, I know my Lawrence move.
Yeah, no, rook h4 is just it's a creative and good move because it also allows you to double on the h file if you can somehow get that rook on a1, get it at a helicopter, you know, a blade to go over to h1 and help in the attack.
And there's some tempi being thrown around here. Bishop e3, you know. White really wants, I think, to play bishop g2, and then he doesn't care about castling this way. Like he can slide his king to f1.
Right. That's, yeah, the king will be safe there, unless you play f takes g6 and try to go for a sneaky checkmate.
Right.
And
yeah, bishop e3 makes sense to me. Queen c6 might be a good move. Like not allowing bishop g2 is really annoying.
So annoying.
Oh man.
That's such an annoying move because you should be able to fianchetto and then hit that queen, but you can't.
That's really strong. I would almost play rook h2. That's how annoyed I am by this move.
It's like, I'm sorry, I know I chased your queen back. I regret it. Rook h2, bishop g2 coming next, but black has moves like even knight a4, a very cool tactical shot. It looks like it hangs a piece, but after queen takes a4, bishop takes e3 will be check. Yeah,
only after rook h2 though.
Yeah, exactly. I was banking on rook h2.
Yeah. So for example, here bishop h6. It's kind of that principle of like the attack that you lead with your rook is never successful. You know, bishop h6, rook h6, and the king can like suddenly kick the rook, and black can take over the entire h file. So if you thought you were getting mated there, think again.
Yeah, and there are some really cool sequences actually in this variation. Let's say if we can show it, king g7, rook h2 to play bishop g2. So rook h2, rook h8, bishop g2. Can I play queen takes g2?
Ooh, wow. Queen g2 is beautiful.
Right.
And you can throw a check in.
And then there's
knight
the king.
c4.
Yeah, and rook d8's coming, and
there's wins everywhere. It looks like
I'm gonna win your rook on a1, your queen. I'm also gonna checkmate your king. Yeah,
that's beautiful.
Fun. Wait, is that happening?
Oh, that's gonna happen.
Oh my gosh.
Greg!
No!
Greg!
Oh, no.
He didn't even flinch, it looked like. The radar wasn't there. You know what he was probably thinking? I guarantee he thought of this, right? That's the first thing you think. Like, okay, let me sack my queen.
Yeah.
But then after this, you're like, oh, he's going to castle. Okay, that's nothing. But queen g2 that's just gorgeous.
Well, I love sacrificing pieces that are not my own. And Greg, he would have had to find the correct sequence after that, but it was forcing. It was leading the white king out into the open, and he misses that, but he's still up a pawn. So maybe he also felt it was completely unnecessary to jeopardize his great position. Yeah,
no, that's a big miss because that's the type of move that Lawrence is like, oh wow, like especially the trash talk between these two to sack your queen in the emphatic fashion of queen g2, I think would feel pretty good. Lawrence isn't in a great position, but guess what? It's only a pawn. And I know the computer eval is like really hyping up this pawn here, but it's just one. Imagine the queens and rooks get off the board. This is still a big task to actually convert it to a win.
That's very true. And I think the really bad thing for Lawrence is he can't castle queenside without dropping f2. Right. F2 falls, and then goes g3. So the king is stuck in the center for now. Uh-oh.
This just doesn't feel right. Rook h2 is always a move I'd consider throwing in.
Yeah, rook h2 looks good. Bishop d5 is even possible because that knight can't take you on d5, and we're trading on pieces.
Yeah, this looks like a good start. Maybe king f1.
Oh. Wait, king f1, bishop h3, bishop takes h3, rook h1 check.
Oh my goodness! Again with this. Yeah, that's brutal. And king h1, or sorry, king f1 kind of looks like a normal looking move. I have a feeling you might play it.
What other moves even exist? Bishop f3, I guess. Whoa.
Queen e4. I mean, he's hanging on by just a thread, it looks like. He might go pawn hunting. Queen takes b7 next.
Feed me. Can black just play c6 and say, close that down?
Mm-hmm. c6 looks good. He might want to be a little more active, but white is a move away from this long castle, the promised land.
And even then, it's not true shelter. Oh, gives up b7.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing this.
Is he gonna? What's his follow up after queen takes b7?
Maybe knight c4 and knight takes e3.
Oh
Something
my
there. I'm really trying to like punish this king position.
Yeah.
Not quite getting it to work, but I feel like I'm, like the scent is hot. I'm on the right track.
Yeah, we're the radar is up. We're looking for, but knight c4 castles queenside. It just feels like there's something there.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's as simple as like bring your knight back to d6 or something to attack the queen.
That's crazy, yeah. Sometimes it really is that simple.
Greg now down on time. That's
notable.
Yeah, it's a change from earlier. He was well ahead in the clock throughout this game. A quick castle queenside.
I just know there's a tactic here.
Where is it?
I bet my life on it. Okay, knight takes e3, queen takes rook d2. What do we got?
I don't see a follow. You know what you could play here? c6. Just so you can. It was knight e5. It was knight d3.
Yeah.
But look at the eval bar.
Eval says no. Maybe queen d. No, not that great.
Yeah, hard move to sort of punish here. If like rook d5 is the move,
oh, e4. Maybe.
Yeah, rook g2, queen f2 to follow. Looks scary.
Yeah, the mate is defended here, but yeah, I agree that doesn't feel like the right move. 95, I think, is a move that looks better to me than it does to the engine.
Oh no! Giving up f2 is losing. But was there rook d5 there instead of bishop e4?
That is a tough move to play. That might be the consideration. Rook d4. No way.
No way.
Just no. Sorry.
He takes it, and queen takes back, and
he's surviving here. Let's see how their time scrambles are, because we haven't seen them in mutual time pressure. This is going to be a big indicator for the match.
For sure. And never play f6, but here that was a good move. Just make sure the knight is defended, the queen is
It's a great move.
And b4. Oh, rook b4.
That queen's looking to get in.
Uh-oh. And it's angling for f1.
Queen f1, knight d3, queen e7. Careful with rook h4.
Oh my gosh. Oh, don't play knight d3.
Uh-oh.
Queen g2. He wants the g2 3 pawn.
I thought he was going to take
knight
it.
c6. Oh,
it's with check.
That's huge.
Yeah, because he can't even take e7. Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, wait. Give me 7.
Yeah, that's not great. The king's going to have to go for... He's got 2 seconds, 3 seconds. It's only +1, guys. Remember that. Oh my God, it's almost mate.
Yeah. Wait, rook f1's about to happen.
Okay, watch out. Yeah, black's about to get mated.
Queen h4, checkmate in 1. Oh gosh, queen f1. The king's running b3. That king's...
Oh, whoa, that was not the move there.
Yeah, because once the
I think as black, you just go take this g-pawn, and you always win the race.
And white had to play king b5 instead of king
this
c3.
is not done very well by Greg, I would say.
No, it's not. But he has that g-pawn, and now
yeah, it's going to be enough.
Yeah, just push. Push.
Nicely done. And I think he's going to get credit for this win. So desperately needed.
King e5.
Here comes a5.
A5, you have to.
Nice move.
Yeah, rook f3 is beautiful.
That should do it.
And that is it. So Greg finally gets on the scoreboard. And look at him. he's nervous. You can tell.
He was like, oh boy, did we need that one. That is very important.
Yes. And if we pull up that game, well, maybe we'll pull it up in a bit, but it looks like the players are taking their break now. So everybody, if you're not subscribed, maybe you want to do that, because we're about to show a video of Greg and how he was during the pre-match festivities of Trash Talk. So we'll be right back, and you can watch this video if you're a sub.
Hey everyone, how you doing? As you all know, big match against Lawrence Trent, March 11th, chess.com, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, but I got something to say about this match. So I've been talking to people, and you know, I like to talk a lot of trash. Lawrence talks a lot. Well, Lawrence isn't talking a lot of trash this time because he knows what's gonna happen. And he just doesn't. Sorry, where was I? Sometimes I like to talk a lot of trash, and I've been talking to people, and they tell me, hey, Greg, you know what? Like if somebody's better than you, like it's cool, like to talk trash because like whatever, you're not like kind of like bullying on some little child, right? But if somebody's like clearly worse than you at chess, you should not talk trash. You should just kind of like build them up, talk about how good they are and stuff like that. So I'm not going to talk trash today. I'm here to just tell you like what a great player and person Lawrence Trent is. I mean, the guy like plays really good attacking chess, you know, interesting openings, and a fantastic chess commentator. So like I think it's going to be a really good, tight, close match against a really tough opponent, and I'm just thankful to have the opportunity to play against somebody as strong as Lawrence, and I hope you all tune in on March 11th for what should be a great, competitive, really close match. It could go either way. I don't know. I don't even know who's the favorite. Thanks for watching.
Now, I sense a particular amount of irony. Are you feeling that at the moment, Robert?
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody this was made days ago, so it has not been made after the 3-1 smackdown that Lawrence is currently laid on him.
No, but you know that's just a taste of a little Greg pre-match trash talk. I wonder if he's going to be able to back it up because he's going to need a lot of wins because he's talking a big game there. Oh, it's not going to be close, and at the moment he's trailing by 2 full games, and we're only in the 5-minute portion.
Yeah, he's right. It hasn't been that close thus far, but it hasn't been close because Lawrence is kicking his butt. And, you know, Greg is a great player. And he's doing some of that Andrew Luck style trash talk where you compliment your opponent, but just full of sarcasm.
Right.
And Lawrence is letting his actions doing the talking because those first 3 games I'm on were fantastic. Game 4 was really not a good one from Lawrence.
Yeah, and Greg definitely needed that. Like, if this was 4-0 at the moment, we would still play the video and it would look a lot worse. So Greg needed that, you know, just for the video's sanity.
Yes. And the players, they're getting set. They got their little break. And I wonder for Greg, so he played E4 in his first game with White. Then he switched to C4. Mm-hmm. Is he going to play in the middle with D4 or is he going to go back to one of his first 2 tries?
Yeah, I feel like if I was in his shoes and I looked at those 2 openings, Bishop e6 is not in that Caro-Kann. It's not a move that's easy unless you really check with, you know, an engine and just have a look at your files. It's not an easy move to just like look at and solve because he already wasn't able to do that over the board. So I was going to say if he hasn't checked anything, stick with c4. It was a more natural position, easier to play. But maybe he has looked at this move Bishop e6 and we'll see what he has in store.
And will Lawrence play Bishop e6? Because I think Knight b to d7 would be a better try here.
Well, there's no way he's looked at that one over the break. That's all I'm going to say.
And didn't that happen in a report game? Didn't he beat like a master in that position?
I'm sure that's true.
Like I remember several years ago, somebody whose rating starts with a 2 and has 4 digits played that against report, and he won with a checkmate.
Oh my goodness. And that person is going to be one of the like highest rated people to ever lose that position.
Yeah, no, that
for the rest of eternity.
Unless it happened in, 15-second chess where you're just pre-moving things, there's no other excuse. But right now, Greg fixed his first game opening woes by playing d3 instead of d4, so his
Much
center
better.
is solid. And that bishop on e6, it looks so bad to me, Aman.
Yeah, and don't tell me he's going to play f6. It just looks wrong.
Maybe play knight b6 and just go for the c4 square?
Maybe, but b3 is so nice, and especially after b3, you not only kill the knight and the bishop, but g6 to get the bishop out is no longer even possible.
Yeah.
Knight b6, b3 looks awful. g6, knight g5. I mean, hey, give me that bishop pair. I mean, this looks terrible.
It looks really, really bad. And maybe this goes to show Amon that it was kind of just a quick trick by,
Yeah, it's
by
a
Lawrence.
get rich quick strat.
Right. It's like, oh, it's going to succeed because Bitcoin. And then it starts tanking. And you're like, but I was supposed to win with this thing.
Wait a minute, it's supposed to work every time. It
Yeah.
refutes the Caro-Kann, doesn't it?
And Lawrence is now down over a minute on the clock. He has this bishop on e6. He might play bishop g4 just to do something and not get double pawns. And he said it was knight e5, but no way.
Oof. So there's probably a few ways to do it. You could take and, think about f4, f5. Castling is a nice way to start just to get your king away from any checks. Ooh, that move does not look right.
I want to play bishop d2 and give up the b2 pawn for the b7 pawn, but that's probably inaccurate.
Agree. Yeah, no, bishop d2 feels like a nice try. Also, like f4, f5, just really, really quick in the middle of the board before black could develop, also felt good.
Yeah.
Bishop here, I'm not feeling it because now there's no pressure on the bishop. This guy does get to the g7 square. I don't think it's that much.
Yeah, because the queen trade is off first, so you have to do something about that first. And if you trade queens, the bishop on c4 hits the rook on f1, and so it looks like black is in time to fully develop.
Would you trade the queens here? Queen d2, bishop g7, and I'm just not. I don't even like the position anymore
I don't either. So I guess
for white.
to answer your question, I would trade queens, not because I really want to, but I'll play queen takes d4, rook d1, and then try to expand on the queen side.
And it's actually really annoying that after takes, rook d1, bishop g7, in order to deal with our pawn, I think I almost have to play bishop d4 because b3 is not possible, rook b1 is not possible, and c3 weakens a few light squares.
Yeah, but is bishop takes b2 that big of a threat? Because just like when Greg initially went bishop f4, giving up the b2 pawn allows a rook b1 takes b7. So I'm wondering if I can be a little bit tricky about it. And after the queen trade and rook d1, and you play bishop g7, I can make like a4, just like throw my pawn, one of them at least, up the board and gain some space.
Yep, you mentioned it in the first game as a little bit of a joke because of how impossible it was, but a4, a5, a6 is a real plan and actually is a great way to target this structure, especially with the bishop here.
Right, because if black stops by pushing the a pawn himself, and the b6 square is available for the bishop on e3, and that will allow white to fully take over the d file. So
really big thing here for Greg. I mean, Lawrence was kind of in the tank, not liking his position. This queen trade and the last couple moves have completely gone in his favor. I think he's very close to full equality, and Greg is maybe fishing for that last shred of an advantage because Lawrence is a couple moves from full development.
And he said by bishop d4, so he just says, let's get these off the board. And after if you trade on d4, then white controls the d file, and that is a better endgame for white. There's only one open file, and white will control it. If you castle kingside, then bishop g7 and rook d7 to follow. White has a rook on the 7th rank and the d file, so that's the worst of all options.
Yeah, that's right.
So is Lawrence thinking about
Well,
e5?
Yeah, I think e5 is pretty, like it is a fully symmetrical position at that point. So you could think about the move e5. What's the other way to do it? The other way is just take, bring the bishop back to e6. Yes, you won't control the d file, but white also can't really penetrate, go f6, king f7.
That's a fair point. I feel like when I first glanced at that position after the exchange on d4, I'm like, I would lose this to, if I'm facing another player around my strength, I feel like I'm going to lose it a good percentage of the time because I have no plan. But objectively, the position is pretty solid.
And that's the engines, right? They're so good at that. The engine will always be like, oh yeah, that's fine, that's equal. But the human looks at that equal position and thinks, wait a minute, it's equal, but I have no plan. I have nothing to do. That's not a position I want to be in.
And e5 is chosen. So if black castles, there's rook d7. And oh my
Bishop
gosh,
check.
bishop c5?
No, this is just a blunder. Big blunder, I want to say. Bishop h3 looks like a solid follow-up because, b6, who knows, it might run into this bishop d7, if you're not careful. I love bishop h3.
Actually, I wouldn't even do it to bishop h3. If you played bishop e6, well, I'll gladly take your bishop there, double your pawn.
This move is really bad. I hate to be that harsh, but bishop h3 to me is like borderline winning.
Yeah, no, it's a clearly better move. What's White's worst piece is that bishop on g2. Bad bishops defend good pawns, as Danya loves to say, and that's what's happening here. So make that bishop a good bishop. The pawn would still be good, and the bishop would have improved. So now Black is just coordinating, and I don't love that move at first glance.
Yeah, the thing is, a5 is kind of unpleasant. So I know what he was thinking. He was thinking, oh, White gets a5. I have to play a6 because I don't want to allow a6 as well. So I think I know what he was thinking there, but I agree. It's just still tough, right? That bishop taking control of that square. Black at least gets the king to e7.
But there's going to be like a c3, rook to d1 situation, and I don't know if you're really holding down the d file.
What about rook a6? That's a way to kick the bishop.
There's rook d8 check. You have to deal with that.
Yeah, good point. I think he's actually doing a pretty nice plan. King f7 and saying, look, the bishop can come back to e7. You can't penetrate. Go nuts.
Yeah, although this is like exactly what we were talking about earlier, where White
no
controls
plan.
the open file and Black has no plan whatsoever.
Damn it.
Maybe rook a6 does have some merit though, because if you can coordinate your pieces and kick that bishop out of b6, like put your bishop back in e7, and then go rook a6 back to a8 to try to go rook d8 desperately.
Right. Now, I'm definitely thinking of bishop f1 and then I'm honestly thinking about rook d7.
Yes.
I'm trying to factor that move in.
What about rook? Okay, now not rook d7, of course, because there's a swap. Oh, he's going to go bishop h3.
This is nice. I don't think it's like, is it really like the end of the world?
No.
Because Black now has this plan of rook e7, which covers the 7th rank. So, oh, wow. Okay.
Ooh, was it?
It looks like a great plan.
Bishop f1 is incredibly tempting here, and it's played because if you put b takes a4, there might be rook d7 check.
Mm-hmm.
Need to keep an eye out for those tactics.
He's just going to go back and very tense position. You don't really want to play c3 for White unless you're winning something on the spot because, hey, the bishop just goes back literally anywhere, and b3 is weakened for the rest of the game.
Yeah, no, Lawrence actually is handling this really nicely because he's finally getting play. We're talking about how White controlled the only open file, Black was just going to have to sit and do nothing, and Lawrence said, no, to heck with that. Let me try to create some pressure on the queen side, and he's doing it.
So how valuable is your light square bishop here? Are you even considering f5 at all, or just let him take back? Lawrence, once again, choosing a pretty solid option.
I like it because if bishop e6, king e6, a rook can finally go to d8 now that it's covered enough times. And how does White try and make progress?
I would play maybe h5 here. I don't know. Toss it in.
Yeah, to try to just create a little weakness here or there. A, B, C, B, rook d5 is possible, but then you give Black the outside pass pawn. Yeah,
king to e2 is also good. But at this point, I think if I'm Greg, I know that I don't really have an advantage or anything going for me. As Black, though, I mean, you can take and go rook b8 and start to really play for something. I'm not sure I love this.
And now we get one pair of rooks off the board. And the good thing for Greg is that a5 pawn's on a dark square. So in many different positions, Black is tied down to that pawn. But Lawrence continues to make active moves. And he goes, I think this is really wise, like going to a6 to kick the bishop and then back to 8 where it's the rook's a more flexible piece. Ooh.
So takes and rook d5 to me is very unpleasant.
It is extremely unpleasant.
I think you might have to defend. Like, you have to make a choice. Do you go full passive with rook b8, a choice you may not be able to reverse, or do you give up a pawn and play actively?
I think you defend it because if White is going to win the pawn, you'll be able to get c2 later because there's no way to put more pressure on b5. So Lawrence is...
I think White just missed king e7, g5 is crushing.
Yeah, and there's also ideas of gh5 and pawn f4 to get after the 5th rank.
Yeah, this is one where it's really easy for Black to lose. Like, very easy. G5? Or sorry, takes, of course.
Yeah, and gh. Oh, there's rook h7.
Oh, but that's a blunder. That's a blunder. But I don't think Lawrence can really feel like this. Like, I actually thought this game was one of those Greg games where he was putting on the pressure. He never really had anything decisive, but he's putting pressure on the clock, putting pressure on the position, and just keeping the game going. So Like, this is blitz, and you definitely deserve those wins where you're the one pushing the tempo.
Yeah, and I think your point is this, that I think most people would chalk up that game to that final blunder, but it was the pressure that was mounting for dozens of moves, or I don't even know how long that game lasted, but
Exactly.
a long
Yeah,
time.
that's exactly what I meant. Well said.
Yeah, and in this position, so Lawrence doesn't give away his d4 pawn this time, but this setup where you go after this dark squared bishop, look at how much extra development Black has. If you are
Right,
going to
yeah.
take that bishop, have fun with the pair. You just are lagging behind, excuse me.
Yeah, White would love to have that bishop already on b2. The score is 3-2 now, and you can also see just above my webcam that the overall match, or I guess the portion score or timer rather, is ticking down. So 20 minutes, just less. They have time for a few more games here. Greg pulls away with a couple wins in a row. I mean, how impressive would that be? Down 3 to up 4-3. I mean, this is a Toronto Maple Leafs-esque comeback.
And it would be proving the smarter chess predictions right, so we know we can't have that.
Oh yeah, that's true. We can't have that.
But interestingly, Amon, the move f5 from Greg there, it opens up the dark squares. There's a pawn on h6. We obviously want to get our queen to g7 with checkmate. So Black saying that I'm okay with all this is hard to fathom, but it's really difficult for White to attack.
Yeah, this queen is like, you have to get a few moves, queen over. But Black's so far ahead in development that you can't do that. Like, it's not that easy, right?
And Black maybe can throw an f4 at some moment, not now because it's covered enough times, but that queen on f6, knight on d5, because that pawn's on h6, which is an attacking piece, White is lacking a defender, and did he just go f4?
He did. I actually look at this position, and even though the engine is kind of saying, hang on, this is great for White, to me it seems like Black is trying to play very aggressively and take advantage of the fact that, look, you're probably not castling this way, and I know you're not castling that way.
Right, and rook takes e2 check followed by knight d4 is a threat, or bishop takes f3 followed by knight d4. There is a problem down rook e2.
Yeah, we were both just snap it off.
I don't care if it works or not. Play rook takes e2.
If he doesn't play rook takes e2, I will be showing the move rook takes e2. But here, I'll let him. Okay, knight d4 might be just as good, but I got to put this on the board. So rook e2, king e2, knight d4. And the idea is that, the king moves away, and we could take this probably with either piece. Not sure which one we like here. Maybe bishop?
Yeah, honestly, I like both. And the White's king is wide open.
Yeah,
White is up
a
rook for a knight, but yeah, as your point, the pawns are bad, the king is open, so I would not have been able to refrain from that.
I would have. Yeah. Even if it was like a blunder, it just would have slipped out.
And knight d4 is a good move, though, because if the knights get traded, the queen takes on d4, e2 is hanging, d3 is loose if you push the e-pawn, so I can get behind this as well.
Yeah, and how do you defend this? I mean, you want to see the worst move in the world?
Oh, goodness. You trying to get me to throw up?
Yeah, let's get that off the screen just for our the viewers at home.
I will say one thing that we can note from the first now 6 games of the match is Greg is reluctant to sacrifice material. He could have played queen takes g2, and okay,
right.
Maybe he just didn't see it, and he probably was thinking about a queen sack, but rook takes e2 was available, and that's well within Greg's wheelhouse. He's a tactical player. So I think with the deficit, he's refraining from sacrificing material because he really doesn't want to lose another game.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think we're going to see queen takes e3. Wow.
Okay.
Rook e4.
Oh, okay.
I would also probably take that. I mean, there's no way I don't take that.
There's bishop e2 followed by f5. That's the only way I can see him not doing that. But then White plays f3 and maybe holds everything together.
That's a good point. Rook takes e4. It's like, and you could almost consider this, but queen takes, f3 of sacking again, right?
Yeah, for sure.
This is pretty much mate.
Draw. Yeah, and at minimum there's a draw because king g1, queen g3 back and forth.
Exactly. As chess players, it feels great when you calculate. Okay, so he went for this. I think rook e4. Neither one was like winning according to the engine, but I like the rook e4 felt more natural.
Yeah, and it could have transposed back into this. But if king e2, rook e4, d4, queen takes d4 check, what's happening there? Because after the bishop, whoa,
wow,
and it's even.
Yeah, even in what universe? White's about to play rook h3, rook g3, and
I think though there's a correct move order by Greg. I gotta give him credit. And if king takes e2, I think it was losing. So that's why Lawrence correctly went king to g1.
So did they want bishop takes and queen c3?
Oh yes, they do.
And by they, I mean all computers in the world. All computer people.
Wait, so queen d5, queen c3, f6, and queen back to f7? Oh,
Yep.
Goodness.
Yep. I actually, for some reason, I feel like I still like black in that position.
Yeah, the pawn structure.
Yeah, it's just like, let's say the queens traded, it was like instant win for black.
And so Greg's thinking, is there any move besides queen takes d5?
I think he's just a little shocked like by the move, and he's just like making sure. Because I don't think he anticipated bishop. Usually you would never give away that light squared bishop. I mean, look at white's position, all dark square pawns, light square holes, but the same thing is in black's position as well.
Very true. And he's caught off guard. He does have enough time, but queen takes d5, queen c3, he has to play f6.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Unless he can think of a king f8 and running his king, but
Oh, maybe.
I don't know if I'm that brave.
Yeah, I'm not that brave.
Now I'm kind of tempted.
Are you that brave?
I'm tempted to do it, but he plays f6, which is, you know.
I think f6 is the move that we all know to play.
Yes. Not my game. If the king got checkmated, it's, you know, not my problem.
Maybe queen d7 was also available. There's a little bit more of like an active kind of defense.
Right. And then there's bishop c3 though, so you have to be really sure.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
But now
better be making a draw there, otherwise.
Yeah, otherwise dead on the spot. And if queen d4, there's rook d8, which is a very important move, defending the bishop and just trying to make sure that the bishop and queen for white don't team up on the diagonal, because then black is lost.
That's right.
So this is even. I think black is better here.
I feel that way as well. I think the queen has to go all the way back.
And then after rook d8, you might have some kind of rook lift on the h file or something. Oh, he trades.
Wow. Not my instinct at all.
Black is definitely better now.
Yeah, you know, it might be around even according to the engine. I don't see it that way at all. I think black, like, I want to play b6, c5, can look forward to chasing around white's pieces.
Remember how Lawrence won that first game, the opposite colored bishops up a pawn? It's not.
No. Is
up
it
a
payback
pawn.
time?
Yeah, it's not up a pawn, but it pretty much is up a pawn for Greg, because white has these double f pawns, and if we cut the board in half, black has a clear extra pawn on the queen side.
Mm-hmm. Rook e7, f5. There is pawn takes.
See rook g8. Nice find.
So you're not falling into bishop g5, skewering your rooks.
It's funny when, you know, like if I were white and you played rook e7, I played f5 thinking, oh, I'm so clever. And then you just take with the pawn and you're like, well, you're a fool. That happens so regularly.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than when you calculate something. Like, okay, so my opponent can't do that. Perfect. And then they do that.
Yeah. You're like, oh, my opponent, what a weak player. They made that mistake. Oh, I can't calculate beyond 2 moves.
I don't love the pawn formation by Greg here.
Although, how does that rook on h4 get in the game?
Ever?
Like, isn't black just gonna play rook d5 or rook d3 and then bring the other rook to the d file and bring a rook to the b3 or b5, wherever I decide my rook should go? And I feel like there's just gonna be pressure.
Yeah. This is not pleasant.
And look at Lawrence's clock, by the way. He's down to 40 seconds.
I think king h2 probably has to. I mean, king h2 is going to be necessary no matter what. Like rook g4, rook g1.
That's very sensible. And rook d3.
Okay, but this seems like the wrong vibe because the rook can't get back on the h file. I don't love that.
He just lost the b pawn.
I just lost the pawn because he can't even go bishop d4 now.
His bishop spin.
Oh man. Okay, so he's in full like send mode, which I understand. Pawn takes, king there. You can start to panic as black for sure.
Sure. And if bishop takes his rook b4, which is a really important move, defending the b2 pawn.
Yep. So honestly, what would you play here? It seems like g takes is the more ambitious move, but also allows the most counterplay.
I'm playing g takes.
Greg is a bishop takes guy.
Yeah, but we're gonna be g takes. Oh.
Greg is a bishop takes guy. As soon as I said the words allows counterplay, I was like, no, not that option.
So rook b4 and rook e4. There's bishop d2, I guess.
Yeah, bishop d2 to c3.
Does black have g5 here? I'm just trying to win
Yeah.
a pawn somehow.
Yeah, there's f3 after g5, which might have annoyed him.
Okay, he's going for the pawn.
I like the speed. Bishop to g7, you gotta just... Oh, no, never mind. You're dropping pawns, hang on. He did it the right way.
And now g5, so he gives up the pawn. He didn't have to do it in this order. He could have successfully played g5 without trading b for g.
Huh.
Okay, good move by Lawrence, I think.
Yeah, yeah. King f4, king g6, maybe f3.
Wow, that's an annoying pin.
And let's be mindful of the time here. Pay attention. There's only 1 second increment here.
Whoa, is that king gonna get mated? I feel like rook h3, rook f3, and I guess the king could run back to h4.
King g6, but
Yeah, not.
this is getting very dicey. Bishop c5, there's b6.
Mm-hmm. And take b2.
I don't know.
Send the c. I guess it's just gonna get blocked on the. Oh wow.
But this endgame, is it so good?
I don't think so. Take
Takes
king g6.
King g6, you get a tempo on the pawn, and then you start to outflank white's king.
That's right. And here it comes.
This might be losing.
Yeah, I don't care what the eval bar says. This feels really bad for white.
Yep. This is f3. That's definitely losing.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
He allowed the king back.
Okay. Bishop g7 and hold the draw and just
Yes.
sit there.
He allowed a draw.
Yep. Yep.
Oh my gosh, he took.
Bring the
an
king to
F3.
b4. Right?
now?
King b4.
King b4.
King b4. King b4. What's he doing? King b4. Oh, he's just.
Now. Oh, he went a4.
It's still a draw, honestly.
Yes.
Yeah, white could just, but still, you gotta play.
You gotta try it. Should Lawrence play a6? At some
Yeah,
point?
yeah, white. Yeah, well, I would play a6.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. Like, he's pretty much pre-moving here.
Play a6.
I would play a6.
Greg is pre-moving.
Play a6. This is like basic
What?
stuff.
Yeah,
You're not
white-
going to lose, by the way.
Right, no, you're definitely not going to lose. White should play a6.
Oh my goodness. Play a6 is so plus EV. Lawrence is a poker guy, right? He knows about EV.
Yeah. Although he also probably doesn't want to play it and then lose the game and then be ashamed of himself. Okay, see, that was a good try by Greg. It was his only try to win. But can they just agree on a draw now?
No, these guys have history together. You know, this is about pride here.
True. And who does fewer games favor?
I would maybe say Greg, which seems odd because, you know, generally if you're the favorite, you want a bigger sample size, but I'm feeling like Lawrence playing that out. By the way, is there like time for one more game? Yeah, there's only one more game. So pretty crucial to see who's going to have the tie or not. But I feel like Lawrence is is actually playing a lot of these positions pretty well, like defensively. And when Lawrence has the advantage, I feel like he's pretty decisive of putting away the game. When Greg has the advantage, he misses those decisive moments, right? Those sacrifices, the big moves. He needs to be finding those to put these games away and make his life easier. Because why is he suffering in those positions when he has like knockouts in the middle game?
Yeah, and you were calling it during that last game when he went bishop takes f5 rather than g takes f5. I think g takes f5 just made it much more difficult for white, even though it might have made it difficult for black in some ways. Mm-hmm. He just made it a little bit too easy for Lawrence, and he still had chances, but Lawrence defended well. And what is with Lawrence and these weird Caro-Cons? Queen is on a5. It wasn't, forced over there, but he just chose to play queen a5 to stop d4.
You can't play d4. Okay. All right, and here we are.
Black is very solid in these lines because you don't have your light square bishop. So it's kind of like a good version of a French in some ways because you don't have a bishop behind your wall of pawns. That said, for the long term, white will be happy with an unopposed light square bishop, but you need to open up a diagonal. And with the b7, c6, f7, e6 pawn configuration, I don't see a way for that bishop to be happy.
This doesn't look good for black. Oh, like knight e5, knight takes d4. So you give white time for g3, bishop g2, which I think is key. Right. And then you can always open things up. b4, a4, c3 is like, just looks really good for white.
Yeah, it's just a long-term issue for black. No pawn breaks for Lawrence, and he starts with b4. I think that may have been a little rushed. And bishop f4.
Don't like bishop f4 at all. That's my first instinct. Just because I guess I was a little bit married to the idea of, hey, I can play g3, bishop back, and f4. And that looks like really nice.
Yeah, I don't understand what Greg is looking for here, because he wants to play f4. Clearly, there's just one little problem.
Yeah, multiple little problems.
Well, a second one just appeared, but the bishop on f3, it's in the way.
Yeah. Yeah, and you want to play g3 to play f4, but then why even put your bishop there, right? It's not actually helpful.
And if you play g4 to then play bishop g2 and f4, then black could even consider g5 and just.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to put that on the board. g4, g5, and it's like, okay, great. Someone said the bishop pair was good, right? Right, guys, right?
Asking for a friend here.
Yeah.
Ooh. So a3 played. See, Greg rushed with that move b4. He gave black a target. Whenever you throw 100%. Your pawns forward, it makes it easier for your opponent to start trying to create trades, and trades will open up the position. And black had less space, so trades favor the side with less space.
Yeah, that's an important concept, actually. So hope you guys are paying attention to that one, because it pretty much defines or gives you a clue about what moves to look for when you get to position. More space. You definitely want to keep the pieces on the board, and these bishops are just brutal. Like it feels like you have to move the knight, and if you do move the knight, you block your bishop. There's going to be g6 probably in the position as well.
Yeah, so good bishop h2 knight g3 situation there.
Yeah. This is the London bishop, right, guys? Bishop, it's so strong.
Oh goodness! And h5 is a move that is threatened by white, and if black plays it himself, there might be queen h6 and a sacrifice. So you need to be really careful before you push pawns on your king side if you're Lawrence.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, h5 by Greg makes sense.
Okay, that's a nice achievement though. h4, h5, that feels good.
How about that bishop h2?
Yeah, this guy's not happy. He's got the wool over its eyes.
And what's white's plan? So you put the pawn to h5. I guess you could throw your queen to h6 if you want, but Lawrence made a great move by bishop c7. He wants bishop d6, which attacks b4, and as you're pointing, gets around to defend the king.
Yeah, that's a great move. Also, b5 can be thrown in as well afterwards, really fixing that pawn. I'm not sure you wanted to open that file. Hang on, king g7?
The knight has been in Greg's way all game, because you would want to move your g-pawn, move your king up, get your rook to h1 yourself. It's a little difficult when there's a knight in the way.
No, I think this is really bad position. I think king g7, rook h8 was necessary. There was knight h5. If white wants to move this knight, he's got to move the queen again. He can't move the queen because this pawn is just going to be targeted. I think his position is in real trouble here.
For sure. And he can knight g5, bishop h4 does not work because knight takes f3 is check. So for Lawrence, he has time to go knight g5, then king g7, then rook h8, and bring all of the pieces into the attack.
Yeah. I think king g7 is one of those moves for black that just needs to happen at some point, just for the flexibility of the rook going to h8. It's not like you have to rush and just do that plan immediately, but there's going to be some lines where it'd be nice to take over the h-file, and you can do so in one move after that.
For sure. And finally, that light square bishop sees the light of day. It attacked the knight, so the knight says, no, your bishop's not very good. And Aman, it's kind of a weird way to phrase it, but is queen g5 kind of a threat from black's point of view?
That is definitely a weird way to phrase it, but I know exactly what you mean, that a position without the queens on the board, it's actually surprisingly unpleasant.
Yeah, that b4 pawn was sticking out like a sore thumb, but that's why c3 was played. Just trying to chisel at black's center, and black has more space, and bishops need open space. The e3 square will be available to the knight after this pawn trade. So even the engine says black is better, I like that decision for black.
Yeah, C3 is fantastic. If you're going to lose this pawn, you can sometimes chuck it away. You got rook b1. This knight can reach the c4 square. I think this is like really, really good progress from Greg. If you look at this position, I almost want to just click back to like, you know, this one is just like night and day.
And it just goes to show, right? We've been talking about this. When you have less space, your pieces are more restricted. You want to trade some pieces. And here, that knight should get out into the game for Greg. Knight to c4 will put pressure on e5. There's a rook a7 waiting to be played at some moment. b5, as you mentioned, could be a worthy pawn sacrifice, whether or not the pawn is attacked. That could give the knight the d5 square in the future. So I'm starting to like the possibilities here for Greg.
I agree. Yeah, there's no H file. That whole plan is gone. Things are wide open on the queen side. This is a big achievement for Greg, and I'm just looking over at the match clock, and it has expired in the 5+1 section, which means, you know, Greg has turned this position around. If he pulls out a win here, that's big momentum going into the next 3-minute portion.
Absolutely. And Greg down a minute on the clock right now. Time has not been his friend in today's match. And Lawrence, he is solid. He lost some of his advantage, to be sure, but I think the minute on the clock, extra minute, that is, makes up for it.
Knight is looking at the e6 square. You might be like, okay, knight g5, what the heck? Well, remember, the backwards knight moves are the difficult ones to spot sometimes. Knight e6, and, you know, trying to get on the dark squares. That's what black has. That's his trump card, right? Is these dark squares, and the knights are poised to try to take over those squares. White, meanwhile, is trying to play on the light squares.
Right, bishop takes e5 becomes possible, but after a swap of bishops, d3 is loose as well. It's unclear who that favors, so that's why it's not just a free pawn in the center of the board.
And it has been played. Knight d4, queen c5 here, so queen a5.
Oh, I like that move a lot.
That will surely be played. Okay, it's just, you know, give me a heart attack, why don't you?
Yeah.
Bishop's covering, guys. I see it, but hey, I'm scared.
Although, how does black justify the pawn sacrifice? Because it's just a pawn for white right now.
It is. I think white's like a little bit shaky on the coordination, but yeah, black is the one who has to prove something here. Because, I mean, guess what? F4 is in the position.
Yes, it is indeed. And then knight on d4 is an excellent piece, right? It's kind of
it really is,
even though there's no pawn defending it. And rook a2 doesn't really threaten anything, right? It looks good. It's on the second rank down there, but no threats.
Yeah, f4, knight e6, maybe f5 to follow up and continuing to put pressure.
I would be worried about that for sure. After f4, there's even knight f5 ideas in some positions if you want to trade those knights off.
There it is. Does weaken this diagonal. I know that's doesn't look like that's dangerous now, but you know, if this pawn disappears or this queen ends up on c5 for any reason, this king could definitely be feeling a lot of pressure.
Agreed. So now Lawrence is thinking, do I bring the knight back to h7 or to e6? E6 would be better, if not to be met by f5 immediately. And by the way, Lawrence now down to 50 seconds.
What?
Take it, because you have to.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, okay. Rook's under attack. Gotta move that thing. Rook here.
3.
I see where he's going with this.
Is there knight g4 here?
But that's the thing. If you're not finding moves like that, Greg, I mean, I think that's a stunner, because if you don't find that move, big issues probably. King f2 and then like the whole knight f5 stuff.
Right. And Greg finds it, 11.9 seconds. And you can see Lawrence did not see that coming. And it's kind of forcing now. The rook on a3 is actually loose. And if rook takes queen on g3, knight f6 takes e4, it's a full extra piece for just a mere pawn.
It's forced. I'm trying to find ways to keep pieces on. Knight e2, queen d4. No, you got to go for this. He knows it. This is not what you want.
No, in fact, it gets pretty simple at this point, because now black's pawns are threatened. If b5, king f2.
Maybe rook e4, knight f5, if g3. Like, as black here, I just want to attack pawns. That's my only chance.
Yeah, he's going to rook h1 to be annoying. Right. A good move, knight d3, though. Bishop f3.
And that's a trade you don't want to make, but you're basically compelled to make.
Right, because c6 cannot afford to drop, and now knight e5. And that wins a pawn, knight g6.
Okay, there is this pawn.
Are we going to see bishop e8 versus king?
Yeah, I'm not sure I would have done it the way that he did it. Hey, maybe knight d3 and knight takes f4 there was an idea.
Mm-hmm. Do we think Greg can handle bishop and knight versus king and with 11
honestly, if he
remaining?
doesn't, Lawrence is gonna have like 5 Twitter videos ready.
Wait a second, those pawns. Oh goodness, we might not even get there. King takes g5.
My goodness, it's just a draw now. Yeah, well now you can't even take the pawn.
It's just gonna be a draw.
Wow, that is huge for Lawrence. For him to hold that position, Greg can't be happy, especially that being the game. Lawrence keeps his lead after the 5-minute portion. That was a very impressive defense. He kept himself in there.
Greg was up an entire piece in an endgame, right?
Yeah.
That should have been easily winning, but Greg
Just
was
a full
down
piece.
to his final 10 seconds. He's shown that his nerves can get to him, and Lawrence Trent escapes the 5+1 with a lead. I mean, Amon, Lawrence started hot, 3-0 score. Greg was able to strike back with force, and I think that Lawrence should be happy now exiting that time control with the advantage.
Yep, completely agree. 4-3 for Lawrence Trent right now. It's a very tight matchup. Lawrence was up 3-0 though, so from Greg's perspective, he also has to be really happy they brought that back and he's starting to stabilize in these matches. I mean, you know, on paper, this is kind of an underdog match, but Robert, this is really, really tight.
It is tight, and speaking of the underdog, he had something to say to Greg Shahade's video. So if you want to watch that response, do subscribe to this channel here. We'll be back in a few. If you don't subscribe, you'll get ads. Have fun with it. See you soon for the next part of this IM GM Speeches Championship match.
Good morning. I hope everybody is doing just fine. As you can see, I'm walking around today in what is a gorgeous, finally summer day, and I'm wearing sunglasses, but I'm wearing them outside where the sun is actually shining to protect my eyes from the sun, not inside for I don't really know what reason. And in fact, let's just talk about a video that was posted yesterday. Imagine one day waking up and deciding to put on a shirt that barely fits you, wear sunglasses indoors like he's part of Run DMC, and then make a video talking about, you know, how he's going to beat me in a match and all of this. But imagine having the chutzpah to do this and nobody knows who you are. It's a bit like going into a job interview, right? You want to be a high-flying campaign manager. Sir, what qualifications do you have? You know, I've been to a few parties. Okay, who do you know? I've picked up, you know, I might have met people along the way. Okay, how's your network? I don't know. Who knows you? Well, not very many people, to be honest. And that's the point. Imagine having the chutzpah to post a video and your greatest claim to fame is not through work of your own, but being a sibling of somebody who has had enormous success. Imagine. I mean, I wouldn't have the guts to do something like that. I mean, when I look at what I've done, World Championship commentator, produced a number of best-selling videos and DVDs. I've been a manager for some of the best players in the world. The list goes on. I'm a name. I'm a face. I wouldn't dare put my hat in the ring, so to speak, if I had literally achieved nothing. Zero. Zero. Imagine that. Now, don't get me wrong. We all know what happened last time. We can talk about how I lost a match or two. Great. Real players, real chess aficionados know what happened. Swindles, playing on when he's 4 pawns down, 5 pawns down, beating me in all kinds of random ways in over 20 games. This guy, who will remain nameless, because if I said his name, you wouldn't know anyway. He got a few lucky points here and there, a few blows below the belt, and managed to win a couple of matches. But the true fans out there all know what happened. Robbery. Now, will that happen again? It's very possible. Because when it comes to this format, there's a huge element of luck. If you go through every single game, you'll see in the past there has been no contest. And this time, as the sun is shining bright on me today, hopefully on Wednesday the 11th, Kaisa will be on my side for once and reward me for my creativity, for my entertainment, for my superior understanding. And finally, we get to put this nonsense to bed. So I urge all of you to come and watch the match Wednesday the 11th. And the guy who will remain nameless will finally have his just desserts. Thanks very much.
And that was Lawrence Trent in his own words. He called out Greg Shahade, and he's calling out over the board. And Aman, we had the Smarter Chess predictions brought to us by chessgoals.com. It said that Greg would win the 5+1 by a 2-point margin. That did not happen.
Yeah, Smarter Chess. God, it just gives me a little bit of satisfaction when it's not correct. You know, there's still a human element to chess, and Greg was not having a good start to this match. Lawrence came out flying, 3-0 start, which means he got his 5+1 score prediction in the first 3 games of the match.
That's right. So Lawrence, he's holding his own and then some. You can even see in his graphic here, he's got the commentator's mic. So that was one of his talking points in his video. And Greg and Lawrence are about to sit down, and here we go. 3+1 time control, 45 minutes of that. Aman, we're seeing a Grunfeld.
Yeah, this looks like something a little bit new. I don't think we've seen exactly this. Lawrence has tried Grunfeld lines, but sort of offbeat. From last time, we remember that H-pawn being throttled up the board.
Mm-hmm. And this is known to be a pretty good line for black because white spent some time playing bishop g5 and bishop to f4. There's no more pieces remaining on white's queen side. You will get an extra pawn in the center, D and E pawns versus just an E pawn, but look at how quickly black is developing.
Yeah, and he's looking to just get out of dodge. Both players are. And yeah, often black decides to throw in this check before white castles because white's pieces are all placed kind of perfectly, and he would love to keep the queens on and just get castle, but no, queen a5, black wants the endgame. Yes,
and a large part of the reason why is because black has an extra pawn on the A and B files. So with many pieces on the board, that's not going to be so meaningful because most of the action takes place in the center. You want an extra pawn in the center, as white has, to restrict black's pieces. But if, say, the rooks come off the board or one pair of rooks remains, look at that outside pass pawn. It's going to be good news for black.
Yep. This is probably what pretty much defines the Grunfeld in a lot of ways. This is such a typical imbalance that black always plays for the queenside majority. And if white doesn't actually mobilize these center pawns, then I think black just stands better in most endgames.
For sure. And the rook went down to c7. You were pointing bishop to c7. That's often an idea to make that knight go off the rim. And after rook c7, I wonder what black's best play is. Can you trade and play b6 and then bring the next rook to c8?
That looks like, I mean, I feel like white might consider bishop a6 there, but it's a little bit awkward. Something like bishop a6, bishop c4, and you don't really love to trade away those light square bishops, and that knight gets anchored in on c4 kind of nicely.
And it goes to show exactly what we've been talking about. Trades help black with the outermost pawn, because if it's only kings remaining, then the white king will have to jet on over to the queen side. And then while that king's distracted, the black king will start entering in the center. So this is happening. Bishop a6.
Yeah, we might see exactly that. I mean, this one, I think this bishop will retreat, but I think he's saying, look, I'm happy to just go back to e6.
Yeah. And the bishop can also go to b7 if you really want to get that rook to c8. Although after bishop b7, maybe there's bishop d7. You're just not letting the rook get there.
I love that move. Yeah, it looks like the right kind of move. It's a funny position. Yeah, sorry, but all the business squares are taken.
And, you know, if you let this sit for too long, rook c1 happens, and then white controls that c file, black could be in trouble.
Uh-huh. What do you think about bishop c6?
I think that's what Lawrence is hoping for, because then you trade and play rook c1 and white gets the c file first, and that's why he keeps going to c8, hoping to fill that square with the rook. And
right.
Okay, now I'm tempted to bring the bishop out to f5 maybe, or to e6.
True. Yeah, e6 always feels like a good square because now there's no bishop a6, right? That's important to remember. The bishop did not go to b5. You're attacking this a pawn. Don't sleep on the a pawn. If you go rook c1, boom, that's being taken immediately. 2 connected pass pawns is too much.
That's right. And oh, no, that's a big mistake, because d4 is loose and e4 will also be loose. So if you put bishop b7 and then h6 next move, one of these pawns is falling.
Everything is falling. Well, never mind. Not on that move, because now the knight goes back to f3 and you can keep things connected. Still, this is good for black. I mean, you're getting the c file. Good things are happening. So I think Greg is just kind of outplaying Lawrence in this particular game so far.
For sure. Rook c8 is a great move. The bishop has to drop back. Then black can even consider b5 because the white bishop has to go to d1. I mean, it's so passive for white.
It really is. Do you just take a2 here?
Oh, you greedy man. Oh, that's just good.
Passer would be proud.
Yeah, and Greg says, don't mind if I do. Great vision by you, Aman. The back rank checkmate is the problem, and now black's up a healthy pawn. And we were already saying the endgame is good for black with 1 pawn advantage on the queen side. Now you got 2.
Yeah. Yeah, strangely enough, in that last position, rook c8, white probably needed to play bishop f4 to guard c1. But you'd have to be fully conscious of that back rank trick.
And even there, you know, white losing control of the c file, and it's going to be bad. So
not good.
All right, now it's up to Greg to prove it, because we did just see a game where he was up a piece.
That's right.
In a game, and he didn't win that. He does have only 34 seconds remaining.
Yeah, but it's so much easier to play up a pawn than up a piece, Robert.
Sometimes. Oh, gosh. Although white stabilizing in the center.
Yep.
The pieces on the a file, Amon, those are awkward on a5 and a6.
They're a little odd. The nice thing for black is that everything's protected and secure. So maybe he can work on improving the rest of his pieces before he touches those. And rook c2.
Rook c2 looks really good. Still looks good. And knight b3, there's rook b1. Oh, the knight d2.
Oh, can't bring the king anywhere.
Oh, rook c1.
Yeah, no, rook c1. How do you not get that rook down there? White's almost playing for a win there.
Yeah, he wants b6, but knight b3 here. That way you defend your knight, and then you can push your b pawn.
Oh, rook a3, you're trapped.
Oh my gosh.
No, something is
taking knight e2 to f.
Very wrong here. Knight e2, g5, knight f4.
Yikes.
White's in big trouble.
And you can just also push that b pawn, if nothing else. B5.
I think white's, borderline dead here.
And Lawrence is a minute remaining. See, that's the thing, right? When you know you're worse, you sometimes want to just play quickly to try and flag your opponent, thinking that's your only chance. But
yeah. Oh, rook g2.
Rook g2, h6, g5.
Oh no.
Here comes g5 and rook g2 mate.
Nasty.
Rook g2.
Rook g2. Gross. And that is going to be basically a knockout punch.
Okay, so I think what Greg needed to play his best chess was just to lose 3 games in a row. Lesson learned. That sometimes losing 3 games helps your chess.
Yeah, this was a stomp. This wasn't even competitive. Once Greg got a handle on that C file, it was over. So it was almost like Lawrence might have had to take a draw with all those bishop moves. If you remember, the bishops were kind of shuffling, not trading for one another. And it looked like Lawrence played bishop a4, almost playing for a win, and it immediately backfired.
Right. And it's kind of hard to do that because especially as you get stronger and stronger in chess, you're taught play for a win with white and then hold the draw with black because statistically wise the advantage. So when you have the white pieces in a match like this, you're like, no, I should try for more, but you need to remain objective. And it was just an easier position to play for Greg. And it's another bishop e6, and it's not in a Grunfeld.
Yep. This is, have we seen this before? We have. And definitely Lawrence checked this out. Because he probably wants this bishop e6 to work. And he's like, wait, why was my position so bad last time? Bishop g4, he realized, look, this is the playable version of this opening.
And Greg going b3 to fianchetto his bishop. I don't love that decision. He could have went g4, knight h4, just gain space over the king side. But instead, he refrains from doing that for the time being.
Yep, king h2, always an idea. Sometimes in these positions, it looks a little strange, but you can like move your queen away and just go knight h4 immediately, so you don't need to weaken the dark squares with g4.
Mm-hmm. And queen c4, yeah, so here it comes. The queen's out the way, knight h4.
Yeah.
And knight getting to f5 just annoys black, even though it doesn't really threaten anything.
Yeah, it ties the knight down, so bishop f8 played, and I think knight h4 is that's the cultured move, you know?
Yeah, it's like it doesn't really make that much sense to people not in the know. And then
exactly, yeah, you got to know it.
Yeah, so the response is just no. You know, you just know.
Just got to know it.
And wow, bishop given up on f3. That was a big decision by Lawrence, and it felt unnecessary.
I think he didn't like knight h4 because sometimes your bishop on h5 just feels useless when the knight goes to f5 anyway, it just sidesteps you. But I agree, sign me up for the bishop pair here.
Yeah, so maybe Lawrence was in the know, but he shouldn't have been, because if he didn't know about
he didn't
h4,
know that he didn't know he knew.
Yeah, and if only he knew, because then he wouldn't have taken on f3. And now, I mean, white has kind of a free hand in this position.
So one kind of nice piece of advice is like when you have the two bishops, you often want like your pawns on the opposite color of the bishop that you have that your opponent doesn't have. So light square bishop means like pawns on b4, c3, h4 would be my first instinct here, is like how to set up the structure.
For sure. And look at Lawrence go. He's sacrificing a pawn because tactically it works out for black. There's bishop g7 at the end of the line. The queen will be on d4, the rook on a1. And I actually don't think that loses material because there's queen d7 at the end. And I guess they just trade queen d4.
But hey, we've seen opposite bishop positions before. These guys are happy to maybe go for another draw there, as you see the engines just giving zeros. Black can take this pawn on e4.
Yeah, very, very straightforward.
Oh, he did take it. Interesting. I'm wildly surprised by that.
And I'm not into it because I think if you don't play rook takes d4, black will just be better. And so you probably have to go down this variation and just shake hands.
Yeah, I mean, you can try to defend this on and like go for f4 e5, but there's no way that Lawrence is that unhappy.
No, I mean, even rook e5 for black at some point.
Gotta go rook d3, it feels like. Or sure, queen d3.
Okay, so rook e5, b4. All right. Starting just to feel a little bit worse for white because white's pawns are a bit overextended.
Yeah, so what I'm seeing though is, okay, h4, maybe h5. If this bishop can move and white gets f4, e5, way better for white. I think that's what he's trying to set up. He wants h4, bishop back, and f4.
Good call. And is black going to try to set up c5, c4? Because if I can protect b5...
Yeah. Ooh, I'm hate this move. Ugh.
Oh gosh, no, this is strategically terrible.
You need h4. Like, that's a mandate.
Because if white plays g4, which is how you usually meet h4 to keep the king side closed.
No. Okay, well, so this structure is just takes, he's going to play e5 because you don't want to allow d3 at the end. So it takes e5. Whoa, no, but this is game over.
You were literally just saying that.
Greg, come on, I was just saying that. You can't, buddy, you know?
Oh, goodness. And you can't trade rooks because there's a rook d1 check at the end, winning for black, promoting the pawn.
Rook takes e5. Yeah. Insult to injury. I think that move, it just must work.
It does. You can even go rook e5, f takes, and queen takes e5, I imagine. But
yeah,
then,
that's
okay, but that actually
a little more work. Yeah.
lot of your advantage.
Yeah, and Lawrence is really feeling himself in this position. The time as well. I don't think he's letting this one slip away.
Yeah, what a mistake by Greg there. It was completely unnecessary. It was an unforced error, as they like to say in tennis.
Yeah, I really think White not playing h4, just an oversight. Like, I feel like you give that position to Greg, and 9 times out of 10, because I guess we saw the one, he's playing h4. So just kind of forgot what Black was up to.
And how many pawns does Black have for the bishop? Of course, if this pawn c2, that will likely go promote, but...
Yeah, 3 pawns.
Yeesh.
Yeah, 3 pawns. Plus, basically, we just want to get rook d1 in the position. There's also queen f4, which I love because, hey, you put something there, boom, takes, and rook d1. Nice tactic.
Yeah, that's game on. A queen d4 check becomes a threat with the same idea to take on a1, play rook d1.
Exactly.
And even if it doesn't come with check, that still might win, right? Because after, let's say, queen a1, rook d1, I'm getting that queen.
Yep, and he's going to take a pawn, but he's also going to get mated.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Bishop back,
Queen
and
d4,
queen d4, rook d1, and honestly, really well executed. You can even throw in the awful queen d6 so that rook d1 comes with a pin on the last rank.
Yeah, and if queen g3 is your best move, you swap queens, play rook d1, and then White cannot stop the promotion. This is game, and that means Lawrence, who just gave up his lead, he is going to take it right back.
Yeah, totally. Totally crushed, honestly, in this game. I wasn't a big fan of the decision by Greg, and yeah, that's going to be GG. Wasn't a big fan of his decision to allow h4, and I think single-handedly the move h4 by Black undermined the whole position and just won him the game immediately.
And in that game, we didn't like Lawrence's decision to play bishop takes f3, but that's like one of those things that's a strategic inaccuracy. It's not a blunder, nothing like that. So yep. Lawrence has kept his blunders kind of to a minimum for the most part, and he is deserving of his one-game lead right now, although he's going back for this d4 line.
Yeah, but hang on. He tricked him, or, he kind of got him looking a little bit. It's like he's used to h5 for the last 2 or 3 games. And he threw a fastball right down the middle.
And look what's happening here. A swap of knights. Bishop h6. Oh, gosh, you can't castle. Amon, this is looking really bad for Black.
Now, I'm not speaking with all full knowledge of the situation, but what it looks like, and I want to give Lawrence credit for this, is it looks like in his Caro-Kann opening and in his Grunfeld opening, he went and he checked during that break, just 1 to 2 moves, like, oh, what the heck? I thought I studied this. How is this not good for me? Oh, I forgot I'm supposed to play d4 before h5. He just switches move order, boom, advantage, and he's got a great opening.
100%. And he switched with the bishop g4 from that Caro-Kann position, like you were saying, and now here. And it's not over, right? Just because Black can't castle, it looks a little awkward. But a5 is a very good move from Greg because a4, a3 is the threat. If White plays a4, that gives up the b4 square. I would think about queen d6, and he plays it. This all of a sudden is giving Black some serious play.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, oftentimes in positions like this, like you kind of let the pawn get there, put your queen on b4, and it looks crazy, but e4, even rook d1, and then meet a3 with b3. So because he didn't go for something like that and played a4, the dark squares are weak, and all of a sudden your queen d6 move looks really strong. And who's actually better here? You're stopping him from castling this way, but it's not clear that he even needs to care about that anymore.
No, this is already getting problematic for White because after queen b4, a b4, b2 is threatened once the knight moves. a4 becomes loose and easy to put pressure on. So he drops back to c2. That's the correct decision. Yep. And now, look at this development. a4 is just hanging.
True. Yeah. That knight is pinned on c3, and let's just say, okay, yeah, he plays bishop d2. I'll put bishop e2 on the board. Knight takes a4, and you might be like, oh, thank you very much. Check on a4, because bishop c3 is the great move that gives a check. And of course, Black would just shot that in on a different move, but if you take here, remember that check is going to get you.
That was a really important sequence, and that's why the bishop dropped back to d2, and there's no useful discovery. That's the claim that Greg made when he castled kingside, and particularly because the king went over there, there's no knight b5, take c7, fork or anything like that. And if you move the knight, b2 will fall. So
that's right.
It looks awkward, but I think this is getting problematic for white because you haven't castled, and it looks like your pawns. And knight c4 for black could be next, and I'm nervous.
Yeah, it's like a Buckley's commercial. It looks bad, but it works.
And yeah, here's knight c4.
Yeah, this looks fine. Bishop pair. And one thing about like an open H file, let's say that black takes with the H pawn. If you have a fianchettoed bishop, you're generally not getting checkmated down the H file. That's just kind of how it works. Like bishop covers H8. Sometimes the queen gets there, checks you on H7, but you just go to F8.
Very true. And rook c1, just make sure the knight can move, protecting that knight so nothing's loose. And e6 by Greg. Don't mind him chopping in the center.
Takes. You don't really want to let white get a whole bunch of tempi here. Well, I was just talking about this, so we might see it on the board. F takes g6 looks a lot more tempting for black right now.
Yeah, then it also makes queen e7 look like even better of a move because h7 is defended preemptively. And after bishop takes e6, knight d5, there's not actually a threat exactly. A lot of people would have been tempted to take that knight on d5, look menacing, but that would have given white the light squares and some pressure. Here, c7 is covered. The queen and rook line up on the f2 pawn, and you can just play c7 to c6 to kick that knight out of there.
Yeah, and something that is illustrated in this position, Greg did it without even thinking, but a queen that's diagonal from a knight is in the best possible place because the knight, it takes the most moves to ever attack it. So that's just one of the best places, sort of like a pattern that you think about. Oh, where should I put my queen? Let me find the square that's diagonal from that knight. Well placed.
It's a really good point that we don't think about too often. Now bishop takes d5. If you take the dark square bishop, then bishop takes b3. Looks like a free pawn to me.
Man, what's with these guys in potential opposite bishop positions?
They love it. They love it.
Yeah, they do. Here we go.
Oh, this is even better because it doesn't give white any alternatives, and b3 is hanging, and the king's on e1. Oh gosh, there has to be some kind of big attack here.
Yeah, I mean, if e6, queen takes e6 because bishop takes. I don't know what's going on here. I'm a little concerned that white might get some like sacrifices. Otherwise, I think black's just crushing. Like just game over soon. 25
seconds left for Greg. That should be enough, especially if he can keep his king defended. And I think white's king's in worse shape anyway. The rook and queen barreling down the f file. That looks more dangerous to me than any hopes down the h file.
Yep. And interesting thing about white's position is his king on e1 is surprisingly safe. It's on a dark square. The bishop's covering the almighty checking square. And it's funny, he does play the move e6. It's weird. I was thinking about it, but it wasn't like totally serious.
I think he wanted queen takes e6. The queen trade followed by rook c7 would have exchanged more pieces. And that's the nature of opposite colored bishop positions, is that even if you're down 2 pawns, you still have decent chances to hold. But here, rook a to e8 is about to happen.
Well, he has to play it.
He doesn't have a choice. What's he thinking about? He might not see it.
I don't think he prepared for that.
It's his only move.
Oh my goodness, he gets it just in time. Is there some like, no, there's no rook h7.
That would be crazy if it worked.
Yeah, not quite. A little optimistic there.
Rook e3.
Rook e3 and see ya.
And Lawrence shakes his head.
Yeah.
Greg, though, he made us all nervous with his time management.
You definitely did.
Bishop c6, easy.
I think he can toss the game at this point. But never mind. Sorry, these guys are, they don't necessarily resign against one another. So thought he might keep that going. But beautiful. We have a barn burner on our hands. 5-5 with just under 25 minutes left here in this segment as we get another bishop e6 power con.
I want to go back and I want to show that knight d7 because I know we've mentioned it before that instead of bishop e6, if black makes the mistake that reports opponent made in one of those games and out of the opening, queen e2 has this hidden threat. If we can just go back to that moment, where it looks weird. Why are you putting your queen in front of your bishop? But in the current game.
The current game. I thought you were talking about going back.
No, just the opening. No, my bad. The opening of the current game.
Yep.
When the queen goes to e2, at the start, bishop e6 is a weird move, but it closes down the e file because knight b to d7 has been played. It's a mistake instead of bishop to e6 because knight d6 is actually checkmate on the spot.
Yeah, this is, I think when people get this in their games, it just, reminds them how beautiful chess is. That feels great. That feels great.
When you miss that and then everybody knows you for getting checkmated in like 5 moves.
Yeah, that doesn't feel great.
At least you're famous, right?
Yeah, they say there's no such thing as bad publicity, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that makes me think of a funny story from Vaikunze where I was commentating, and Vichy, everyone was talking, and Sam Shanklin had resigned a drawn endgame against Anish Giri, and so he was upset. This is several days later. How could I resign that game? I'm so stupid, blah, blah, blah. And Vichy's like, Sam, what game of mine do you remember most? And he's like, oh, no, Vichy, there's so many great games. How am I supposed to pick one? And he's like, exactly. Because Vichy once lost a game in 5 moves, right? This was back in the late 80s. He followed the informant of a game that was essentially agreed upon as a draw, but it was a losing variation. And so Vichy once lost a game in 5 moves. You don't always remember these defeats. But when you do, they're super famous.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. It's amazing how I can listen to you tell that story in 15 seconds, because when Yasser tells that story, it takes 15 minutes and I get the same information.
Yeah. Well, it was in a sunny, no, it was a cloudy, maybe it was overcast. I'm not sure.
5 minutes in and I don't even know the weather.
Well, we do know that Lawrence just stole a pawn in C3, so.
Completely stole. Like, wasn't Queen C1 available?
Yes.
It's not the end of the world. I get the rooks are doubling, but what the heck is this?
This is just so. This has happened several times today, where the side who just wins a game completely collapses in the next game.
Yeah, this is so one-sided for Lawrence. I actually kind of like rook takes f3 and knight d3 simplifying.
Yeah. Well, b6 to defend the knight and the a7 pawn, because that's maybe the only way. Yeah,
it's a little bit awkward, I have to admit.
Yeah, because white wants to play b4. So where does this rook go? Because if you move, I guess back to d6 is possible, but then I'm sacking the exchange on c5. Nah, we're losing anyway.
It's really weird. This is one of those ones where the engine's like, yeah, same eval, but what do you care? Whereas I'm like panicking that Black's like almost gonna drop everything.
That's exactly how I'm feeling. Like, why is this still Black's playing the best moves? No way. Come on, but it's how good the position is.
Yeah. Once the king like sort of shuffles a little bit away, I think it's all good. Yeah, you either have to commit to this move or or not, because I think the e4 pawn just gets pickpocketed and good things happen.
Like right now, like knight takes e4.
Yeah, so knight takes e4, knight b4, right? He's gonna try it. That's the attempt, but it isn't enough. There's no way.
c5 for Black there. He goes, uh-oh, wait, bishop takes e3, he blundered a piece!
He
blundered a piece! And he looked like Gollum. He was like hiding, my precious.
Yeah, he really was. He really recoiled there.
Yeah, he did. Oh my goodness. Andy Serkis, eat your heart out. Wow.
That is a heartbreaker. But there's good news for Lawrence. If Greg does not win this game, it will be the second game that he's up a piece that he's unable to win.
Okay, I think
trash talk is possible.
I think he can handle this one. Yeah, he's up a full piece. His king is safe. There's no resources available to Black.
Yep, but the H pawn's loose, and that's all I got.
Yeah, tell me more, Amon.
Okay, well, the H pawn's loose. Hey, I didn't need more than that.
Oh, can you just grab it?
Listen, I don't have much in this position. Like, I would probably have taken that H pawn.
All right, well, now you have 2 pawns in the center of the board. So Greg kind of slapped in his own head, like, what am I doing here?
I haven't been admittedly too impressed by Greg's conversions. Like, I gotta say, the Greg conversions need a bit of work. King H2. Okay, rook D7.
Yes. And then that queen needs to somehow get to F3 for white. You need to, or A4, A5 might be coming.
Rook D7 is not so bad.
Actually,
we got like D3 coming up. Because look, yeah, you'll get in there with the Yeah, rook d6. Yeah, you'll get in there with the pieces maybe. Queen c6 is maybe a little much.
Yeah, because you're going to take a7 with check.
But this is what I mean. Black's at least going to establish a position. He's just going to chuck the pawns down there. Yeah, the king won't get mated. It'll like go for a jog.
Yeah, that's actually true because that pawn gets to d2 and the queen goes to e1. A queen d8's mate though.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think he honestly might miss it.
Yeah, I was like thinking
I didn't
about
see
this.
it till you said it.
I'm like
I'll be
queen
honest.
d5.
Huh?
He goes back there, take on b6. Queen c6. No, queen
Queen f4. Is that even good though?
No, it's not. That might lose.
It might lose. I think it actually wins bishop f3 and king g2, but
he nervously plays queen a and wants queen
yeah.
f3. But look at that rook though. The f2 pawn's gonna stay.
It's really it's a game.
So
Just play a4. There's no threats. Just play a4.
true. You can't push the d. Oh, queen takes e2 is not a threat. So
That's a very good move, I believe, right?
yeah, d3 is just falling, isn't it?
You got to go rook e1. Rook e1, only move.
Rook d3. Here's f1 equal knight. Oh
F1 equals knight. Yeah.
I think there was.
That was unbelievable. Oh my god. Okay, I will save it for after this game.
Oh my gosh, F1 equals knight.
F1 equals knight.
He missed it.
You missed it twice.
And that one would have actually saved the game.
Or sorry, you didn't miss it the other time. It was available in some lines. So, oh my god, that would have been crazy. Yeah, now it truly is dead.
Yeah, this is easy. F1 equals knight. Do you think he has auto queen on?
I think everyone I think he should have auto queen on, but he should also know how to queen with auto queen on to promote to something else.
We got to show that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm gonna pull that one up.
Oh my gosh. F1 equals knight was available.
So yeah, we all saw he ended up converting it. But so the first one that I want to show is this one, because queen takes on e3. Oh, it's check.
No, it was rook takes d3 instead. After queen.
Oh, rook takes d3. Sorry. I knew it was available here. Promotes to a knight, and you can't take it. And you have to take it with the queen, or let's say if you do, and then the rook is hanging. This is ludicrous. And then what ends up happening in the game is the pieces run around, check, rook takes d3. Hello again. F1 equals knight.
Yeah, it's a draw.
And the king has to go here, only move. You're pinned. Knight takes g3, knight f1, knight g3. And okay, maybe he would even like try for more, but the point is he'd be happy to take that draw as we get back to the current game. Pretty exciting stuff. And man, if he had brought out the alt queen knight promotion, that would have been so dirty.
And the trend continues though, by the way, that the side who just won is like in terrible shape after 10 moves.
Yes, except remember that Greg won 2 in a row.
Oh, but he was in rough shape at some point.
Yeah, he was in rough shape. And then he came back and he actually won that game. And he's in rough shape again. So Lawrence is now, it's actually a bit different. Lawrence is now at the point where he's getting his great openings again, but he's not converting anything.
And White just up a healthy pawn. Usually when you give your opponent double pawns, you get some kind of play in the center or attacking something. If I'm not mistaken, White is just up a healthy pawn on c5.
Yeah, he's looking pretty healthy. That's a bit of a strange move, though.
Yeah, because he's helping Black's center expand. That was a really bad decision to play.
Yeah, I don't get that. Okay, no harm, no foul. Yeah, nobody saw anything.
Yeah, what? No, the eval bar stayed about the same.
Yeah, exactly. Knight h4, and if he plays f4, I find that position to be strategically winning for White.
Yeah, for sure. This reminds me of those Nimzo positions where you like go bishop f1, bishop h3 as well.
F4, pack it up. We'll see you guys next game.
Yeah. You just wrap that bishop around f1 to h3 and you win the pawn.
Yeah, so, I mean, it is a great move, bishop d3. Like, there's no question about it. You're attacking this pawn. You'll probably win it.
He does allow the knight to e5, though. That's the one really big downside.
And guess what? If that pawn was on f4, would not be the case.
You are correct. That would have been a good start here. And even though the eval bar, I was about to say sky high until that move, I was going to say black was suddenly getting chance like knight g6 here or knight c4. Both those are options.
Right.
But knight g6.
Knight g6 I like.
Yeah, if you take me and open up the h file, I feel like I have a chance.
Probably take an h4. Yeah, I guess this is all right as well.
Yeah, bishop d4, knight e3.
Yeah, that's pretty convincing. Actually, kind of thinking that if h5, you might even consider h4, bishop f2, and then that h pawn is sort of like, you gotta think about it for the rest of the game.
Knight g2 is surprisingly good,
Right.
even though we tend not to like fianchettoing our knights. Rook g8. So if that were a bishop on g2, there might be some kind of knight h4 ideas, but
Yeah, it's a knight, so whatever you can do, I can do.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, and the knight's just going to e3 and
I
bishop
would have
c4.
maybe considered the move bishop to h5.
Oh, I like that.
Just stop that h pawn in its tracks. Although he can still do it with h4.
I was looking at bishop c4 here because the only piece that can defend the f5 pawn
This
is this bishop.
Gulliver's Travels. Where's this guy? Where's this knight going? It's got nowhere.
I don't see it. Does he want b6 somehow? I don't know.
Yeah, the pawn always hangs. I was even thinking of maybe c6.
I love that move. I love that move.
Wow.
And there's there the knight goes.
Yeah, I think c4, knight on d5. You know, this should be too much to handle.
It is.
Lawrence is calm, collected, bishop g1, and he's probably going to double the rooks. And I think he's taking care of business.
He can just play rook d5 at some point. You sacrifice your exchange. I can
I like
sacrifice
that.
mine too.
I like that. Rook d5 is actually probably a really good move.
Oh, yeah, this ends the game because you take, pawn takes, hitting the knight, and then d6 check, and otherwise. I think rook d5
E5
was better, though.
Yeah, it will certainly more aesthetically pleasing.
For sure.
No question.
But okay, Greg is about to lose this one.
Yep.
Knight
E5.
e7. Yeah, b5. Oh, that one's a piece.
Yeah, it's crushing. And let's not forget about the time. I mean, it just paints a picture of the game, doesn't it? 1:45 to 6 seconds.
Not good for Greg. And b6 here. Where does that knight think it's going?
It doesn't think it's going anywhere. D6, and I'll see you later.
Rook
King to b5, and would you like the slowest checkmate in history?
Yeah, that looks good. Just go for oh, he should definitely go for it.
He's
taking
doing this
pawn.
the lame way. You
Yeah.
gotta go for this.
I'm not happy about this. Do you remember that? Was it the Alpha Zero game where? Okay, here black's down material, but there was that game where black was up material, but had a bishop on g8 and a pawn on f7 and a pawn on g6. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
This is like reminds me of that. It's just the worst possible position you could look at. Just please avert your eyes.
True. Back to this, and it is 6-6. But I think Greg needs to fix the openings. Long term, I feel like this is not gonna like win him the match. So I'm impressed with Lawrence's openings. He's blundering pieces, and he's just not. I mean, Greg, for example, is not converting his crushing positions. Like sometimes he is in the end, but just that process of conversion is a little bit shaky for him.
Yeah, he does seem to stumble a little bit, and he just is hesitant in critical moments.
Mm-hmm.
And he pushes pawn to d4. I would have been looking to push b4, b5. I'm still looking to do that. Maybe I have to play rook b1 first, but either way, send it.
Send it. Here come the pieces. Knight to g4. Just, knight g4 looks like the move now.
I need to be very careful.
How is c5 actually?
Oh, does that just win?
Yeah, there's stuff here.
Lawrence looked at his board with disgust.
And most importantly, taking on g3 does not work because of bishop f4. Checking the king and working the pieces.
That's what I was going to point out, actually, before you said c5 just wins a piece. I was like, oh, bishop g3 doesn't work even without c5. But
right.
Now it forces it, and bishop f4 check is yikes.
So he does have to allow bishop f4. He has to play e5, and he's gonna hate his position.
Extra pawn, e6 is a threat.
You have to play like rook d4.
Oh gosh, e6.
I mean, this is dead.
Yeah.
This is dead looking.
I'm waiting for rook c1 takes c6.
Yep. Maybe bishop b6, queen a6, you know?
Oh my goodness, that you have to show that.
You have to just play.
That's just beautiful. You can't even take the darn queen. Actually, you can play queen b7, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna play rook takes c6. And,
Yeah.
you know, of course, this is what I want.
Yes. No, I'm with you on that.
But okay, but hang on. Queen f5, you're asking for it now.
Yeah, you really are. He misses it.
Queen a6 was obviously on the cards there.
What is that mate called with just the bishops and the diagonals like this?
I'm not sure. I know Bowden's is when it's the bishops like
A6 and
like converging diagonally, but like that, I'm not actually sure.
This looks very easily winning. You can just king takes f2 here.
Oh my goodness, yeah. This is not nice.
Bishop
yeah,
d6.
king takes f2 was for sure the move.
But bishop d6 here, I think, ends the game.
Bishop where, sorry?
d6.
Bishop d6. Yeah, that's nice.
Well, bishop e7.
I think he's just gonna do it the slow way.
But see, okay, this position is completely winning, but king h2 is the type of move that we keep talking about, where
yeah, it's just what is that?
It's completely unnecessary, it can cost you in other positions.
Yeah, it's not so much that the moves Greg is playing, they're not costing him necessarily in these positions, but the habit of playing those types of moves, he's not going to have a position that's so good he can make any move. Sometimes you're going to need to make the move, and if he makes a slow move like this and misses his chance, might not get it back.
Exactly. And now f7 is targeted.
Yeah, f7 is hanging. Hang on a sec.
Yeah, rook f1 is rook c7. See, this is still kind of a game.
Rook c7.
Yep.
What do you even do there?
Because you can't attack the rook on f8. You could play like queen, d6 or something. You'd get it.
Now
he has to win this game all over again.
What the heck?
Oh, rook f4? No, then queen takes 8.
Okay, this is very tricky actually. I kind of like this. Yeah, I think this is quite smart. Bishop e3 is going to be devastating.
For as much as we were criticizing him, that was a great move. Like
yeah,
queen f5,
that was the one you needed to find.
Yeah, because he was letting this game slip, and then he found a nice research. Because everything, all of our attention was on the f7 pawn, and to have the realization that that one's going by the wayside, let's go queen f5, bishop e3, go for checkmate. Really well done there by Greg.
Yeah, and we'll see what Lawrence does, but the idea is bishop e3, and in order to prevent the mate, you're going to have to expose this diagonal, and that doesn't look great.
Goodness.
Okay. Rook takes f7.
Just rook queen e8 check first, I guess. And then rook f7 and bishop takes c6.
Right. Yeah. So start with queen e8, and then with rook here, and then with bishop c6. Or that looks great.
Rook takes c6 and the checkmate. Oh, he can't. No, the bishop can't take.
Oh, but you have queen e8.
Yeah, I know, but I blundered. So
that's funny. Yeah, you're like you're trying to make the move. You're like, wait, what?
I was going for your checkmate.
Yeah, no, it's there. Queen e8 should handle things. It's funny. Queen e8 also doesn't threaten this rook. It's like easy to miss that as well.
Oh goodness.
I think you gotta take it, right? Just take it, and there's no immediate win. You get your king a6.
Run away. King h3.
This is still a game, right? We've seen worse things happen. Rook f2 incoming.
True. I was like trying to go king h3, bishop d5, but
wow.
What? Because queen c4.
Wow.
Queen a4 and queen c4 ideas winning the rook.
Yeah. But now it's me. It's surely me. So here. And you can't move that bishop, let's not forget.
I was actually about to play bishop c6.
Yeah, bishop c6. So hang on a sec. You must pick off this rook or something. How do we do this? Check.
Don't tell
Queen
me.
d7, queen d3 is what I was thinking.
Wait, is he making a
Queen d3.
okay, that's really
And then
nice.
queen d6 is mate.
That's beautiful, actually.
Yeah, he found it. Very, very nicely done there by Greg.
But
There was only one move. Look at those diagonals.
He made us nervous, right? Like he was on the verge of letting that one slip, but I guess he had everything handled in the end. And Lawrence, he's saying, "You got this one, buddy." And now Greg takes the lead once more.
That was a sweet move. Like Greg, I think in many moments missed the key move, but in all the moments where there was no other option, I think he found the move. Bishop d2 was beautiful at the end, like hanging the piece, but also simultaneously unpinning the bishop from g2 and knowing he could hang the piece because of the pressure that he had and all the checks that he could fork Lawrence's rook. That was a really nice finish.
Yeah, bishop d2 was a fantastic move and one I did not see coming. And now Greg, he's gonna have to stabilize with the black pieces. This is a fun variation of mine where that queen on a5, it's just eyeing the queen sides and pressure on a2, but white has such great development and control of the center.
Yep. Bishop b5. I mean, this is like when you're taught chess or something, you see all the kids that just bring the bishops out, attack the knights. That's what you do. Bring the rooks to the middle, knights out. This is like basic stuff. Great looking position.
Oh, bishop c6, e5, knight e4. Done.
Hess is calling for GG.
Oh, I thought knight e4 taking on f6 was just like a
lights out. This looks lights out.
Yeah, I'm just
because you can take on a2 and you're not doing anything.
That's the thing is I understand people get scared about giving up a pawn in front of their king with queen a1 to follow, but you're just crashing through on the king side.
Not to say knight e5 is not a fantastic move, but might let Greg survive. And are we sticking with the theme? If you win a game, you immediately get a lost position. Okay, bishop h6. Don't even think about it. Like, just get that guy out of there.
And did you see Greg? He's like, I'm done. That was I should have seen that.
No, nobody plays h6 in that position and lives to tell the tale.
And I think what he needs to do, if we just go and move back, was instead of h6, he had to play knight d5, which looks impossible because knight takes d5 hits the queen, but bishop takes g5 is check very importantly. So you got to save your piece, and then the material is even though white has an attack, black is holding on.
Yeah, that's a good point. And yeah, see ya.
Oh my gosh.
Well, you get to hunt for checkmates here.
How many do we have? Rook e3 to h3.
I mean, this is just dealer's choice.
Yeah, but was rook e4 better? I'm not sure.
I don't know. I was really feeling just letting it sink in with maybe queen f6 or knight e4.
And Greg wanted one more because he resigned with a few seconds remaining on the match clock. So and he gave a thumbs up. So you know what he could have done? He could have said, "Look, I'm going to resign. Let's just end the segment." But he said, "No, I want that last one." He was paying attention to the clock.
Yep. And hey, look, Smarter Chess did say Lawrence's best chance was in the bullet. So maybe Greg is thinking, look, I don't want to give him, all the chances in bullet with a tied match. I think I'm a bit better in these blitz games. To his credit, he has been the one getting ahead. So he's been leading by one, Lawrence equalizes. And he's been leading by one for the last, it feels like 3 or 4 games. So he's looking to do that when Lawrence can't answer immediately.
And I also think having the white pieces is a bigger advantage the more time there is in the clock. Right? Bullet, it's all random at that point. So having that last 3-minute game with the white pieces, first move advantage, and well, I don't really see much advantage of this position I'm on. It's just
yeah. Let's talk about your point generally.
Yeah. Excuse me. This was an overarching point. Nothing to do. We don't talk about anecdotes here.
I think black's better.
Yeah, black is better. But if this is a bullet game.
Yeah, so you generally want to just go straight into the bullet with a point deficit
because it motivates you, right? If he's down a point, he's ready to get.
Hey, he was down 3 to start this match, and look at him now.
Yeah, he played his best chess after losing 3 games.
D6, and I mean realistically, pretty equal. But I think I just look at the fixed pawns in the position, and I sort of like black's bishop a tiny bit more. That's about it.
Yeah, and if that's the queens, okay, this is not gonna happen. But if the queens just went off the board, then there would have been like a rook a5 to b5, things like that at some point.
Right.
b4, a bit of a target, and
definitely
black should be a smidge better.
Yeah, and Greg wanted this game, right? So Bishop c4 option, although black is better in all these positions just a bit.
I think Greg is playing a tournament where there's an under 2,600 blitz prize. That's why he won this last game.
Yeah, he's like, let's make a quick draw. Maybe give me a -4.
Yeah, you know, it just he's been farming me. Let's make sure I get that under class prize for in my next event. This is absolutely nothing for Greg in this game, and if anything, he's going to have to be accurate going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yep. When you take a look at the time, it's hard to say like, oh yeah, the big time advantage that really matters. But b5 looks great here.
Yeah, b5 just forcing the bishop trade. Oh, c3 now, because if bishop c4, knight c4, queen takes c4 is knight d6 check.
I was gonna say c3. You could almost play bishop c4 takes on d4. Interesting endgame.
Yeah, that would have been something. Instead, we're here. This is clearly good for black. c3, queen d3.
Yep. White can try queen out there, but I mean, king can cover everything.
And then your knight and your f2 pawn and your b2 pawn. Everything.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Lawrence is going for that GM endgame right here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is, I mean, this could be a big backfire, right? You're like, hey, we're not sure. Did you want the next game, Greg? He's like, yep, thumbs up. And, you know, loses in a grindy fashion like this. And then Lawrence is kind of pumped for the bullet.
Mm-hmm. And Greg's, no, I was saying thumbs up. I wanted the segment to end. We got to get rid of this game. It doesn't count. Oh,
guys, no, hang on. Misunderstanding. Total misunderstanding.
Uh-oh. So queen c4 check. Can we take it and take on e4? No, then you take b6.
You lose all the other pawns, though.
Oh, gosh. It's one of these kind of pawn races and hard
damned
to
if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah. So king, you can move your king, like a simple king e7, but that might not be it. Are you trading queens, Amon?
Man, it's such a tough decision.
Too much to calculate.
It's too much to calculate. I didn't sign up for this.
Exactly.
I feel like in the end, I probably would trade queens because queen takes, d4, pawn takes. Oh, takes, and d3 is probably very strong.
Oh, that's true.
So I think you want some king moves, like king e7 in particular.
Right, because the queen trade is kind of forced.
Yeah. And not king d6 because maybe knight c4. I don't know.
He says he's okay with it.
Yeah, maybe king d6 is fine. I was a little spooked by knight c4 just because I was like ready for this d3 thing, but it looks fine. King c7 and b5.
Yeah, and he's claiming that his active king, even if you give one check, it will just go right back.
And he must take that queen. Let's be clear. Yeah. Got to do it. F2 is hanging. D3 and some confidence here from Lawrence as he's playing for this win with d3.
Yeah, d3. Is there c3? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Ooh. Okay, well, definitely d3 now, right? So then yeah, you're c3. I see what you're saying.
Knight b3 trying to spring free the pass pawn. The knight takes the a, and the king is in the square, and I don't see how black wins that game.
Yeah, it's got to still be right though. Like you move the knight, if you get your pawn to c4, you're never worse.
Right.
Yeah, so I would just move the knight, play c5. You could even try knight d7 for knight c4.
But even there, if the knights get traded on c4, I don't see a way in.
I think knight d7 was a bit better.
Uh-oh. C4?
C4, only try.
Oh gosh, now white's better.
Yeah, knight d7 was the answer, I think.
King e3 and give me that d3 pawn. Oh,
maybe try g5. Yeah, I like g5.
F.
Ooh, knight takes. Maybe? No, just pawn takes.
Yeah, you can try to. But you can't situate your king on e5, unfortunately, because knight f3 check.
b3?
And black's better all of a
I
sudden?
think Lawrence has done like a pretty dang good job. King f4, knight d3.
Oh
Oops.
my
Oh my goodness!
Oh, that was a win! Is it no king e2? I was gonna say,
he buttered it again!
Not again! He just didn't see it at all.
King e5.
And knight d1 check. The knight runs away.
Oh my!
Where does it run
knight
to?
knight c3, king d3. Remember?
And then knight a2. It's like,
what's he doing? Oh, he just wasn't sure. Wait, hang on. Why is Lawrence playing so quickly?
wait,
Play f5, right?
King e5, knight f3 check, and then we get a repetition.
King E5, King E5? Is that
Knight F3? Yeah, it would have been Knight F3 back to D2.
Wow, yeah. So he had to
Oh,
play
Knight
this way.
C4. He had 94 there, I think.
Okay, B2 and Knight C4, and he's solved it. Or that's even nicer. Sweet move. Sweet move. And he's fist pumping already. Don't make that into a meme, Lawrence. Crucial C5 pawn.
Yeah. Yeah, no, up a queen. I think Lawrence has this one covered.
Yeah, he's got his other pawn rolling as well. Trustworthy. You can even let white get a queen, which is insult to injury. Take the knight on G5. Checkmate in one.
That's pretty sweet, actually. Come on, let it happen, Greg. We want to see. Oh, boo.
Hey, boo! I'll play it out
for the fans.
For the fans. There we go. But very, very deserved game there by Lawrence. In the end, Greg, he wanted that extra 3-minute game. I don't think he wants it anymore.
No, he certainly doesn't, because Greg Shahade, he got that last game in. Unfortunately, it backfires. Lawrence Trent leads by a point as we head in for the bullet portion. Aman, I mean, I guess we're gonna be right back, and the players get a break, we get a break, and then it's bullet time.
It is pretty exciting, guys. Stay tuned for the bullet just on the other side of this break.
Hey everyone, I'm here to talk to you about something really important. On Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time, I'll be playing Lawrence Trent in a match on chess.com in the first round of the tournament. And, I mean, I'm gonna win the match, of course, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. Lawrence, you know, he's a good guy, and he does a lot of great things for the chess community. And my concern is that after this match, after the score of this match and everyone's seeing it, he may not feel comfortable showing his face in the chess community anymore. So what I'm calling on all of you to do is after the match, after Wednesday, he's going to be in a really tough spot. So like, please just be kind to him. Tell him how much you appreciate him. Tell him that you want him to stick around in chess and, you know, keep playing and doing commentary and making courses, because I'm just worried. I'm really concerned. The match is going to be ugly and he's going to need all the help he can get. So please, thank you from the bottom of my heart for caring about Lawrence and doing this for me.
Well, he was thanking Lawrence Trent in that video, but I don't think he's thanking him right now, because Lawrence has a lead. And while we still have the bullet portion ahead today, we have to be extra hyped for the JSCC doubleheader taking place tomorrow. It starts at 4 a.m. Pacific time with Hans Niemann and Kirill Shevchenko. Then the semifinals, Nihal Sarin against Wonder Liang. I will have the call for both matchups. First, I'll be joined by Daniel Naroditsky, then by Jeffrey Zhang. Jeffrey continuing to make his foray into the commentary sphere. Aman, those matchups are juicy.
Wow, talk about the commentary as well. That's awesome to have Jeffrey in the booth. It's exciting enough to watch him to play rather, but commentary as well. That's pretty sweet. And you got, you know, number 1 seed Nihal Sarin in action. That just seems like an action-packed day, and we've still got an action-packed match. Robert, we take a look at the Smarter Chess here. The stats. I mean, what are we thinking for the bullet based on the match that you're seeing right now? Those are the stats. That's the pre-game prediction. But after you've seen the players play blitz and how they handle their time, what are you expecting in the bullet?
I would have thought that Greg was a slight favorite in the bullet, but you know, he's been hesitant, and that makes me nervous for his chances, because he's been down on the clock throughout many of these games. Lawrence has been confident in the early stages, so I'm going to give the slight nod to Greg still, but not by nearly the margin I would have thought of before the match.
Yep. That feels right. I mean, if you had to pick a favorite right now, and maybe it's around even, because Greg might be the pre-match favorite and Lawrence is up a game, so maybe live odds around even, which is pretty exciting. But you know, it seems like it's trending in Lawrence's direction at the moment with the momentum. What I'm wondering is that break what actually is going to help Greg, because he must not be feeling good after that last game. If he had to play again immediately, who knows what would have happened? Maybe a little bit of tilt. Lawrence is pumped up. He got that win. He's leading for, I want to say, almost the first time since his early lead 4-3. And this is great for him.
It's true. It's been neck and neck, 3-0. Then it was tied up. And since then, they've been trading off victories. But Lawrence gets the win. And we see in the live odds, the slight favorite for Lawrence. So that one game of separation, that's what tells the story on the graph in front of us. So, Lawrence, he looks a bit nervous to me, though.
Yep. Yeah, I think both of these guys know how many videos they've recorded pre-match, and they know how bad they'll look in those videos if they don't get the score that they want. So these guys both have maximum motivation.
And we're getting word that Greg Shahade is in the chat, and he goes, just found out I'm down a game. Thought it was tied.
Thought it was tied. Interesting. Well, I think maybe that's saying if he knew it was tied, he might have maybe not played that extra game. Like maybe he thought he was down a game in the previous one.
I don't know what kind of math he's doing, but I thought he's the one who plays poker and chess and should be good at keeping count of things. But unfortunately for Greg, he miscounted, and now he's down a point. At least he's aware. He had the break to recognize it, and we're about to be off. I'm excited for this bullet. Do we think the openings are going to change?
No.
Okay.
That's my opinion. I think if they change, it's on Greg. Greg might have more bullet systems, but I think Lawrence is loving what he's getting from the openings and has no reason to change.
Okay. And I was about to say, do we think that the backgrounds will change at some point? But I think Lawrence is comfortable in the Aurora Borealis, and I think it looks like a flower behind Greg, but I can't really see. It's blurred out. But he's slapping his head, and we're off.
Yeah, that's how the match starts. The bullet portion starts when Greg slaps his head.
That's the sign. So chess.com team, when he does that, he's ready to go. Oh, different opening this time around.
And it was Greg. Yeah, I figured of all the guys, Greg. He's an experienced bullet player. He's got the sauce. You can play a little bit more loose in bullet.
Yeah, and this has that Washington Square Park vibe written all over it. You're playing some questionable openings here at E5, knight g4, E6 is available for white, hitting the bishop on G7 and the pawn F7 all at the same time. But Greg, he can't be thinking here. He's spending time. Knight E5, F4. Wow.
Okay. Knight H6. But Knight H6 is not really a concession. I was actually going to do that move anyway. So I don't know if I love F3.
Right, because the knight comes in F5, then... Oh my gosh. Give me the light squares, Amon.
Knight. Well, the thing is, you lose your bishop. Bishop F2, Knight G4 back. Hello, remember me?
This is going wrong.
Bishop, okay. This is good, though. I think he missed the opportunity to take that bishop, personally.
Oh, and bishop on G7 is loose. So bishop D4, queen D4 hits the rook on H8, and
he's fine now.
Spin.
You got a castle, surely?
Yeah, out of DE, queen E7 check. Where's that king going exactly?
Everyone has an intermezzo to throw in this position.
Did he pre-move knight F5?
Yeah, that's pretty beast mode.
But like, what if he had gone D takes E7?
Which was reasonable, by the way.
No.
That was not a bad move.
Okay, I'm gonna look on my end here and verify. No, he did not pre-move knight F5. Okay, it's checking. It happened.
What the heck is G5?
Have no fear.
What do you think of knight takes D5 there? I'm almost trying to sack the knight for the mate.
H6 is...
Oh, he did not expect that. I think he was almost like, wait, what? This is just too much, surely. Rook takes D5 and maybe knight takes D5.
I love the sacrifice, isn't...
I'm just trying to sack my pieces. They're not mine.
H6? Wow, F5 is a great defensive move.
Yep, here comes knight G3. Queen E5. White's putting all the pressure on.
Yeah, queen E5, there's... Oh, he clogs the E file.
Yeah, he's defending like amazingly well.
And he's up a few seconds. Very important at this stage of the game. Okay, 92. Queen D. Great move. A2's hanging.
No, it's check.
Oh, forgot about that little thing they call check.
Take G4, and white is sailing in this endgame.
Yeah, great move of rook F7 because you could not allow rook E7 check. And
hey, that's actually quite a clever move too. I don't know if like the rook trade really helps, but it was his idea.
Yeah, and white is up a pawn, but down nearly 10 seconds on the clock. So will Lawrence be fast enough?
Not a fan of that.
King h7.
Yeah, I think white's building up the pressure really nicely. Rook
F2
there
and
and
D3?
D3.
Oh, no. This could turn around in a second.
Oh, trade that rook. I don't think black wanted to do that.
Rook b6 was available there instead of c takes b4.
Ooh, that's right. And I think maybe there's like chances for a draw, but objectively, I think this should just be winning.
Oh, great move. Rook c3 and rook a3. Oh, no, rook a3 is rook d3. But rook a4. I think
rook a4 is hilarious.
I think you can't make progress as white.
Oh, what?
You might lose now.
No, you have to go king b2 and keep the rook there.
And I think this is just the whole.
Don't play king e4. Maybe rook f3.
Oh, that would be crazy.
Some zugzwang win.
Yeah, I was gonna king staying in front of that g pawn.
You can go king b1 as white, just in case you want to waste the move. By the way, what do you think of g3, king g4, and then king b1?
The king was going to h3 and back to g4.
h3, yeah, that's true. That's a fair draw. That's one that neither player can really be too upset about there. Like, obviously, Lawrence messed it up, but I think it was kind of mutual.
And out of the opening, Greg had him, but then immediately lost the thread.
Exactly. So, kind of fair overall.
Oh gosh, Lawrence playing with fire at this point. These setups are really just restricting black's pieces.
Oh. Take an e6. This is bullet. Knight d5 and e6.
Send it.
Send just full send.
Knight f3 is possible. Rook d1.
Hang on.
What's happening in this game?
Yeah, I'm trying to get the picture. I think knight f3 and knight takes d5 there, using the e file was something.
Got it. Well, definitely not a bit. d4.
Yeah, d4 looked pretty strong there.
Yeah, a nice little fork.
If you don't sack on d5 now, it's never going to be there, but I just don't see it working.
No, and what are you staring into? A brick wall of pawns here with your rooks?
e3 and black is it only one pawn? It is. Yeah, it feels like more, but.
Okay, great decision by Greg though. Oh my gosh, I want to sack the bishop on d5 again. It's going in the wrong direction. Knight f4.
There is +1 on this time control, so players always have at least a little bit of increment. Knight d3, there's always going to be some good chances. Queen a5.
Oh,
knight
wow.
d3.
Yeah, if you can establish that blockade with the knight.
What?
You have a piece?
A full piece?
Oh
he
my
doesn't
God.
see it!
Neither of them saw that the knight was just hanging. And look, Greg sees it now.
Wait, but Lawrence might not still think it's hanging.
Oh my gosh.
Although if he takes it, there's e5 bailing him out. But he's going to play it now.
But now the d5 square, but that rook might get trapped on h5.
Oh my goodness, g6 traps the rook.
Yeah, I play knight d5, and after g6 is rook takes e5, and just.
Yeah, I agree.
Or maybe knight d3 for the same purpose.
This is hilarious. What is this game? Greg is down out of 10 seconds?
What?
What on earth?
Oh no, all his pawns are
Yeah,
gone.
this is bad. This is one of the worst ways to do it.
That rook is still traveling. Gf2 and queen g6 check.
Don't hang c8's hanging.
Do not hang that rook. King f1.
Okay, that's a check.
h6 is also hanging. The g-pawn's pinned.
Yeah, the rooks are a little awkward, like a7 and c8. Okay, rook h6, but it's not really a big deal, this move.
Yeah, but now you only have a one-pawn lead, right?
Factual.
That's a dangerous pawn. d2, anybody? Rook d1, rook e7.
Rook e7, yeah. That's the move.
And if queen g2, there's rook e1.
Okay, rook e1 should be played, I think.
Yes.
Rook e1 still works.
Yeah, rook e1 takes queen h1. That's beautiful.
Very, very nice tactical vision. He's going to pick up all the material.
And Greg needs to resign. I mean, he's plenty of time left in the match clock, but now he's down 2 points. So you have to be careful about playing on too long.
Yep, it's a good advice to have always the match clock nearby so that you're fully conscious of it. Lawrence needs to be careful not to go anywhere near what he played last time as white. That was a terrible opening.
That was extremely bad. He gives black the g4 square here, and white gets the g5 square. f3 next. Lawrence with a great position.
Yeah, this looks wrong on many levels. I mean, bishop back to c8. I mean, if that's your development plan, I don't know if you have much to look forward to.
And Lawrence is calmly retreating his bishop, not giving d5 with tempo. So black is cramped, but if black strikes with c5, white's whole center could collapse.
Yep.
And here it comes.
There's something that tells me this is not going to be good. Watch out for knight takes d5 ideas. They're lurking. They're somewhere.
Right now, but there's knight takes b3 first. Okay.
Strangely, maybe c takes b3 there was a move. Knight e4.
Oh, it head right to d6.
Yep. This is classic tactic when these queens and it's the king's not on c1 for check. Unleash that knight. And king e7, watch out for rook takes and bishop c5. It's going to be nasty.
And if you take on e5, there's knight takes f7, saving your knight and forking the bishop on e5 and the rook on h8. Oh, gosh, this is getting really bad.
Yep, there's also bishop e5, bishop c5.
f6? So if you take on f6, bishop f6, knight takes b7, that looks like a free pawn. Whoa.
He's just going to go in, but I mean, you take e5 in a heartbeat here.
Yes, please.
No.
Oh, wow, what a move.
That's amazing. I would be so scared of this, but yeah, you're right. You just take the knight.
Is this turning around? Rook f7.
Yeah.
Black's just winning.
Black is winning. He turned that around. Unbelievable.
And like
I also didn't see rook f8, so that was a fantastic find by Greg.
Yeah, it was not on my radar putting another piece in the diagonal, but now this is also easily winning. This is not one of these where white has some chances and counterplay. No. This is simple, so Greg has to convert.
He has to convert. No, rook g5, you can try. Okay, knight f3. Oops. Don't fall into that. Knight has to go back. He does get the h-pawn, which is key for Lawrence.
Yeah, bishop e8 to f7 if he's feeling extra scared, but he can put bishop on c6, and the king is a weapon in the endgame.
Yeah, rook e1 maybe.
King
force the king back.
Okay, knight g3 to e4 seems to end all counterplay. Here it comes.
h6 though.
And down. And Lawrence is well ahead in the clock, so
that's very nice. Yep.
Who cares about time when
that'll do it? And I'm actually not sure that either one of these players is interested in, let's say, like running down the clock, so to speak. So I agree. Yeah, just resign, get the next game.
Yeah, no, this is just to keep yourself in the rhythm, right? If you start sitting and waiting, you are not really feeling the match. This is bad for white.
9.5 to 8.5. You're losing your bishop, and Lawrence has one piece developed on move 10, and he's better.
Yeah. And c5, c3. So that pawn a3 is a huge thorn in white's side. Oh, I don't know about that move, though.
If you take on d4 and white plays c takes, it's like asking for trouble with the knight getting to b4 for an endgame.
But b4 for white, can you then go after the a3 pawn? Probably not, but you can try striking the center with e4 at the right moment.
Knight e5?
Just kidding.
I like knight e5.
Please take me, says Greg. Give me the d4 square.
Yeah, white is probably the one that can try. I mean, black should play g5 here. I think g5.
He's lining it up, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, we know what he's up to.
And the knight's on g1 rather than the rook. That
strange, yeah.
GF? Or maybe EF and go rook e1, because there's not like a black knight can land on e4.
I think EF is the optimistic way, and GF is the Greg way. Like just the solid, I'm not going to be worse way.
Yeah, he's going to put his knight on d4 now at some point and just be solid. Okay,
Queen f2, knight d4. But okay, once we defend e6, the bishop's coming in. Or no, the bishop's coming in.
Could he just take on e6?
I think he should have taken.
Yeah, bishop g3 is just one little check. Knight b5, anybody?
Nah.
Free pawn? Nah.
Nah, rook g1. This is the Greg way. Get the pieces off so there's no counterplay.
But queen g2, there might be a trade in bishop e1.
Yep, watch out for that.
There is
well, e6 is hanging too, so I don't know what's happening.
And b5 as well.
Yeah, it's really awkward that if you trade queens, you get bishop e1, you take this pawn, but you can't ever promote this pawn with a dark square bishop.
It's true.
It's the worst one to have.
So,
yep, get that bishop out to f3.
So
white has everything to play for.
Black should maybe like bishop d8 to b6 and try to chop that knight down.
I like that.
I like what Greg's doing right now. Is he going to win the a3 pawn, though? If the queens come off, knight c2 is going to happen. So
that's right. That should be probably strategically winning. King d2, and then white has a huge edge.
Yeah, knight takes f5, bishop takes d5 to follow almost works, but not quite.
He's such an easy position for black to go wrong, put it that way.
Right. Because
White is totally fine.
Because the queen moves the wrong way, bishop h5 to f7, or here queen h5.
Yeah, but taking king g7.
And then knight c2 at the end.
Yeah, I just don't think you can really do anything about that, but you're right.
Yeah, just go knight c2, take a3, then play for a4. White should be better. I'm not saying winning.
Oh, I mean, is black. I don't know how to prevent that.
Knight f3 trapped the bishop.
Oh my goodness, it did momentarily.
And the king would just go around.
Yeah, the king would just pick it up.
No, don't make a draw. So white has nothing to lose here.
Nothing.
Oh gosh, bishop g8.
Don't get your own bishop trap.
No, black would have been frozen there, I think.
What on earth is happening?
Playing so quickly. Bishop f7, bishop g8. What is happening?
I have no idea.
Knight f3 traps the bishop, so they're both missing. Knight f3.
Knight f3.
He trapped
it.
He trapped his own bishop by going bishop g1.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He made it too easy.
And look at Lawrence. He's in disbelief. But it's fascinating, Aman, that the a3 pawn, oh, I just hit my own mic, was completely off both their radar. Knight c2 could have picked up that pawn at any moment.
For free.
Yeah, for free.
The entire game.
Yeah, like that entire endgame, once the queens came off, you just win that pawn and then throw in a timely a4 or try to get a4 to work, and you win.
Yep. Oh, 100%. Lawrence is obviously getting better positions. I mean, Greg's playing an opening that's not supposed to be good.
Are you hating on the hippo?
I don't know. I was told you have an emote over on your channel, Robert. The hippo is kind of a special thing to you, a special creature to you.
It is, and watch out for f6 at some moment. That bishop. Okay, well, he castled.
I think he watched out.
It's a bad hippo though. Putting your pawn up on h5. I don't advocate for that.
Yeah, like he wouldn't be dealing with this with the pawn on h6, king on h7.
Yeah, and you just refrain from castling for a bit. This looks really suspicious.
I'd like to sign up for the winning position.
Yeah, no, there are free spots in the class. You can certainly register.
Oh no!
Oh my gosh!
So it's got to be winning, is what you're telling yourself. And I think knight takes c7 at the end is pretty convincing.
Why is Greg playing this shady?
I thought he was gonna play knight d8. Yeah, I thought he needed knight d8 there. I mean, it's lost all the same.
e6.
Ooh, knight c7, knight e6. Watch out.
Play rook e8 and then e6 anyway. Oh gosh. Oh, it takes. I'm not a huge fan of that. Actually, I think this gives black some chances.
e6 though. e6 pretty convincing.
Yeah, if you get e6, then it's done.
That's pretty tough because you can take with the knight, and then like you're just in a pin on the e7 knight.
D6.
Yeah, queen d6 is over.
Ouch.
Using the pin.
There he goes.
Knight f5.
And
Takes and rook e7. Nicely done.
Yeah, Lawrence is feeling it right now. But Greg, he's playing openings that just play into Lawrence's hand. Resign.
Yeah,
Greg. You can't play this game on.
Greg, I think hey, we love ourselves a hippo, but why h5? h6 is a perfectly good hippo, and if he wants to play that opening, I think he needs to like revise it, because at the moment, look at the openings. Greg is like reacting to every a5 from Lawrence, every h5, h4, and it's not giving him a good position. He's got to be careful. He could just be losing all those games with black.
And Lawrence is doing a smart thing of copycat chess. And, sometimes it really fails, but it's very aggravating when people do that.
It is, because you keep trying to come up with a new idea, like, okay, I'll do this. This is great. And then they do it too. And you're like, oh, wait, yeah, it's pretty good by him as well.
Yeah. And this rook on h6, that rooklet was very smart by Lawrence, because all of a sudden there's queen h4 ideas, and
yep,
there might be a checkmate soon.
I think that queen is going to venture out. Ooh, knight c5. This is a common maneuver. You can take next and open up that bishop. Knight g5. There could be some really nasty stuff.
And here comes queen g5. Uh-oh. Rook takes h3 is the threat. dc4 opening the bishop.
I think Lawrence has all the energy in this position. Knight f4.
Knight f4 holds everything together.
Yeah, that's an amazing move.
And if dc4, I guess just rook takes. Ooh, rook h4 looks weird.
Yeah, he wants that rook f4.
But I think Greg's happy to give it up.
I'm waiting for DC4. I can't believe white hasn't taken. I can't believe black hasn't taken.
Is there an F3 for white at some point?
Certainly.
And CD5.
There we go. Yeah, this is concerning, I feel like, overall.
Okay, knight takes D5 may walk into more trouble than it's worth.
True.
Although knight of 6 check after rook D8. And then king of 7! And then king of 7!
Amazing.
I think that works.
That is amazing. Hanging the rook on D8, guys, but queen G2 checkmate. Don't forget you unleashed that bishop when you went knight F6 check. Knight F6 check, pawn takes, there's queen takes D8.
Oh, he took an H3.
Oh my goodness, there's almost, like puzzle rush kind of stuff coming up.
Yeah, I think you have to play F3 here and queen G3, queen E1.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, saying that now white has a chance somehow. King F2? Queen D4 is a good move.
It looks good. I would almost play bishop D3. Like, yeah, you don't really care about this. Try to get to C4. G5 is kind of a threat. No, I think he, okay. G5, watch out.
Yeah, that's actually just winning a piece, isn't it?
No, G5. Yeah, he's going to play it immediately. I think white is cooked here.
And G3 may be the only move, but that looks horrendous.
True. Yeah. Hey, gotta play that.
Oh, good try here, actually. If the rook trade, there's a queen H8 check at the end. If queen G7 blocks, rook E8 check, distracting the king away from the queen. Oh my gosh.
Very tricky.
Oh, what a find by Greg with no time. What do you do here?
My goodness.
Queen.
I honestly understand knight E4. Like, it looked like a really tough spot.
Oh, bishop A2 check.
He missed it. That's a nasty check. But there's no mate. G5's covered.
Gosh. G4 and G5? Push the G pawn.
Oh my goodness, he can't even make a move as black.
Oh,
Queen A1.
Oh, and king F2, rook F4.
Rook F4 and queen C1.
Okay, he goes this way. Bishop A6.
Bishop A6.
Oh my gosh, what's happening here? King back?
Rook F4.
Rook F4, and then queen F2.
Oh, rook H1. I didn't even see that. Lawrence, he pulls that win out when it looked like Greg was all over him, and he opens up a 2-game lead with less than 5 minutes left. And Robert, remember, these are not 1-minute games flat. So they will take a lot more than 4 minutes if they get played out to the maximum.
And that's right. People need to remember that as long as there's 1 second remaining on the overall match clock, that next game continues like we saw in the 3-minute portion. So Greg, he needs at least a victory in this game, and then we'll see how much time he has remaining. But Lawrence opening up a 2-game lead.
Yep.
And
no, this is critical. Critical stages for Greg. I love Greg's position, though. Very stable. He's got knight on F5, castle. I think this is a good game, but if Lawrence hangs on, is able to draw this game, that might even be the match, depending how long it takes.
For sure. And black is better here because the king side is locked up. The queen side, black will be able to start pushing pawns at some point. So knight C6, for example. It's going to be a slow buildup. And watch over rook G4, rook takes G3. It's such
that's a great that's a great move to spot. The thing is, rook G4 is so telegraphed, but you often miss that tactic when the rook swings over from the lateral rank.
For sure. Now B5, Oh, I don't know if I like B3. That makes C3 a little soft.
Lawrence.
And here comes B5, B4 as an option. 3 minutes and 30 seconds remaining.
Isn't great for him. Greg also should be well aware of the match clock at this point, because if there's a position to repeat in and it happens in the next couple moves, he can still take a draw. But if this goes the distance, I'm not sure he can.
Yeah, Greg's certainly playing for a win here, and Lawrence just has no plans. A frustrating position to be in, and maybe that queen will slide over to the C file, and Alyekin's done.
I'll play devil's advocate. Sometimes when you're in a position with no plans and bullet, it's almost easier because you're like, okay, you go ahead, and I'll just shuffle my pieces and gain time.
It's true. And Greg is aimless right now. He went queen C8, he went back. He's trying to
he doesn't have anything.
Oh, queen E2, B4.
Knight F3 back.
B4? There's no...
B4 has been here for a while, I'll say.
Yeah, but there's
no...
white,
I would play A3.
There's no knight E2, so that's why B4 had a little bit more punch to it.
Because look at the time being eaten off the clock. It was at almost 5 minutes when this game started.
Yeah, and Greg now needs to win this game. He's got no choice. That queen is almost trapped over there on A5.
Well, if it's almost trapped on A5, it's looking close on B6.
Yeah, that's a risky position to be in. The C3 pawn is loose. Knight D7 hits the queen and the E5 pawn as well.
he's giving this up, but I think he could have considered taking that maybe.
Wow. The knight is loose on d7, but the knight is loose on d4 as well. Rook c3?
Surely you have to take.
What?
What doesn't he like there? Oh, I think that's a terrible decision. White can survive for so long, maybe even win this game.
Oh my god. Rook c7, if knight a5, rook takes b4. Rook b4! Rook b4!
He needs it. Rook b4 is huge, and he's forced to find it because the rook was attacked.
Yeah, and look at Lawrence. He's like, I did not see that coming. And that's a huge pawn to give up.
However, I will say, if it goes into a knight endgame, there's still hope for white because it's hard to break through. But lost another pawn. This is looking dire.
Rook c7, knight d6.
The counterplay is coming. Knight d6, knight e8, knight f6.
Oh my gosh, white can even win this game.
Yeah, he could give up every pawn. That's why the computer's saying draw, because the knight on f6 is going to check e8, f6 back.
And he goes there.
Knight e8. I think this is just a draw. Black time!
Oh my gosh, Greg lost some time!
He won the game, and Lawrence knows that means he won the match. There's a minute left. Lawrence can actually fully celebrate, as that is a 3-point lead, and this thing is over.
It's over, and look at
Greg, he's barely there. There's a good sign of life from Greg.
Wow. And Lawrence Trent defeats Greg Shahade. The match is over. They'll play, I guess, another game, but it doesn't matter. Lawrence makes his way through.
Amazing.
I think Greg was doing some CrossFit for a second.
Yeah, I mean, he's got better chances in that, I think, at this point, as few videos, I think, that Greg made aren't going to look so hot right now.
The good news for Greg is he can now trash talk Lawrence, because he was saying, oh, I can't trash talk someone I'm better than. If Lawrence beats him, now he can full on
200 IQ.
Yeah, it was a smart play. And all right, well, at this point, it's some French-looking structure, bishop h7, knight g5 check, and that should be game. Oh, okay. Greg's all mad.
Yeah, Greg, he's all out of sorts, right? He's all out of sorts.
But we can say, like, oh, the match is over. He's not looking for it. But this has been a bit of a theme, right? He has not been able to strike when the moment's available to him.
Yeah, he hasn't been very decisive. I think that's the word. Oh, bishop e7.
Yeah, and well,
well, not when your queen's saying. What a way for this match to end.
Greg's like, please make it stop. Make it stop. And
make it stop.
Lawrence Trent, now 2650 at Bullet. So I think Lawrence was inactive, hasn't been playing much online, and he's showing that he was underrated, underestimated, and, hey, underappreciated, but never again.
Yep. Yeah, no, this is, guys, it ended sort of how the match went for Greg, just not going his way, tactics, blunders. Lawrence had his fair share, but he really composed himself in Bullet. And I think maybe a key moment was that decision to take that extra 3-minute game and then actually losing it. That really set him on the back foot going into the Bullet, Robert.
Yeah, sometimes more is less and less is more, and he played one more game and lost it. But Lawrence Trent, the deserving winner of that game. So we're going to take a quick breather. We're going to bring the players on for a post-match interview. So enjoy this hype video once more from them if you're subscribed to the channel, and we'll be back in a moment.
Not everyone's a grandmaster. But that doesn't mean these stars...
Greetings everyone, sorry for interrupting your hype video over there, but today is not an ordinary day. Today is the match between Greg Shahade and Lawrence Trent, and boy, does these two have a history together. My name is Wouter Big, also known as Bigfoot. I am your producer for today, and also, back in the day I used to host grud matches between these two players, and these were fire, really good, nice trash talk, and before this match started, I said we just hop back in time and see how they did back then.
I feel like oh yes, that's a point, baby. Whoa, that's a point. I gave you the free pawn. You're a disgrace. You're a disgrace. Do it. That's a point gained. Another one. You are a disgusting human being. I tell you.
Never heard anyone.
Give up this game. I might blunder. You might have your tricks, your G4s, and your rook eight. Oh, I'm wonderful. My rook D7. Look how wonderful I am. You have played one. You have not outplayed me from start to finish in one single game. You are a disgrace to your family. Okay, Jen, Michael, I know you're watching. I'm sorry that Greg shares the same genetics as you. I promise you. After this, he's retired. Finished. Finito. Finish.
Greg Shahade versus Lawrence Trent. Will Lawrence Trent finally strike back with the 2-0 deficit that he faces? These two have been bickering back and forth on Twitter and Instagram, but Lawrence has been very, very silent. And I know why, ladies and gentlemen. My man has been preparing for this match.
This is how I'll play.
And we return here with the participants of what was an epic match. And Lawrence Trent, you're the winner. So I have to ask you, is the third time the charm?
Apparently so. It was it was a close match as you know, I thought it would be, and most people. But I actually thought I played quite well today. I think I squandered a gazillion positions. I mean, there were positions where I was just blundering pieces. I mean, that's just my default, it seems, where I'm just cruising. And, you know, I can think of at least 3 games where I just blundered a tactic or blundered a whole piece. But in general, I was quite happy with my play. I didn't feel like Greg really, I mean, I understood quite early that my tries against his Grunfeld weren't really working. So I was quite happy to switch things up when I was playing something a bit more offbeat, sort of in the middle of the 3-minute portion. If I didn't do that, I don't think I would have won the match. So I had to switch that up. I think the Caro served me quite well. I wasn't put under any pressure with Black at all, pretty much, maybe 1 or 2 games. And yeah, and then when I got a bit of a lead in the 1-minute portion, Greg had to mix it up, but he didn't quite find the way. But it was, you know, it was everything I expected. I mean, Greg, you know, we give it a lot of banter online, but Greg is a phenomenal player, and you know, he's been a good sport, and I've enjoyed the back and forth very much. So thank you to Greg for a great match. I mean, I'm exhausted. I really gave it everything to come through there.
Yeah, we can tell. It was a long match. It was exhausting. Let's go back to the start. Greg, it didn't start that well for you, let's be honest, but you pulled it back. It was 3-0 for Lawrence. He came out flying with the openings working for him, everything working, but you turned it around. Were you happy with that comeback? Were you starting to get a feel for some of his openings at the beginning?
Before you go on, can I say something? I just want to say something I thought I would never in my life have to say. And it's
what is that?
Congratulations, Lawrence. You outplayed me in this match. I got that out of the way. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice to see you play in the rest of the tournament. So the first, what was the question? The first
it started rough for you. Lawrence came out flying. Like, he was leading early on, 3-0, and you brought it back though with a comeback.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I wasn't awake yet at the beginning of the match. I was like, what's going to happen? I'm just going to lose every single game, 20-0. But fortunately, I almost didn't even win the 4th game. It was like,
yeah, the 4th game,
close.
I think, if I remember, I might have even should have won that one. I can't remember the game, but felt as though I could have been 4-0 up.
Yeah. Once I came back, I was like, okay, now I'm good. Now that, you know, I'm just going to win some games, and, you know, same result as the last 2. But somehow Lawrence played better this time, and he was really sharp. And then the bullet got me again.
Lawrence,
Yeah.
He said you were really sharp this time. Well, what do you think it changed between the last matches and this one? Were you doing different preparation?
Is that to me?
Yeah, to you.
Well, as you can see behind me, I had to search for inspiration from somewhere. So I managed to put a lovely, slightly older picture of Greg on a heavy bag down the gym, and I believe that was one of the keys. You know, just giving, you know, 1-2, 1-2 hook, you know, 1-2 slip, you know, just all the combos, and I felt sharp. But no, I didn't do anything particularly different. I guess I was just, I don't know, I didn't get as flustered maybe this time. Like, I go on tilt, as you can probably tell. And there were a few games which really, really put me very close to complete, like monster tilt, where I wouldn't recover, you know, giving up the rook and blundering that knight d3 move and all of these moves when I'm a pawn up. But I just managed to keep my composure. I think that's the difference this time. And Greg, I don't think actually put together a string of wins at any point. I don't think he put together
2. I want 2.
2, yeah, but yeah, okay, 2 maybe, but you know, Greg normally, when he, you know, even if he starts slow against me in my previous matches, he had put together a 2, 3, 4 game run, and once you do that, the momentum really does shift. So I never really felt as though the momentum completely shifted to Greg this time around. And
I have one more thing to say.
Okay,
I'm going to be honest.
Yeah,
This match, part of me was actually rooting for you. like a big part of me, because if I win, like the first two I won, right? If I win the third, it's like the rivalry's over. Nobody's ever gonna care again. But
Right.
now you beat me.
Right.
Now it lives on, because now we gotta have a rematch someday, and I'm gonna like training. I'm gonna like fly to another country, just lock myself up in the basement, 24 hours a day, chess studying nonstop, and we're gonna have a good fourth match.
I'd tell you what, you know, let me think about it. I'll see if I've got room in my agenda for you now. And I just want to shout out to all the guys on social media who've been participating. I did a little thing before this match where I said, you know, if you guess the correct score and the right player, I'm going to give you a prize. If you manage to guess it, so what was it, +4 for me?
Yeah.
There's probably one guy in the universe that guessed that. Reach out to me on Twitter, because I can't scroll through all the answers, and I'll give you a prize. But no, I mean, what can I say? It was I really enjoyed it, actually, and you know, Greg is he's a great character, and I want to see more of Greg around. So hopefully.
Why'd you beat me? If you don't beat me, I get the
Well, I'll tell you what, if you really want, you can be my second for the next round. I mean, there is an availability. Just hit me up, and yeah, we can work something out. I'll take the picture off the heavy bag when I get down the gym as well. So, you know, just to clear the air.
So chess boxing when? When are we going to match between you two?
Well, chess boxing, if you think that was a route, let's not get in the ring, because he might be able to handstand his way from one end of the room to the other. But when he's having to face a 6-punch combo and is getting outmaneuvered and out footworked, you know, we're talking apples and pears here. So you know, Greg, you fit guy. As you know, handstands, squats, you know, lunges, whatever it may be, but different ball game. So I don't think we're going to get a chess boxing match, but I am potentially going to get involved in one with somebody here locally, because we've got a club. I will announce details of that if that happens. But for the moment, I'm just going to enjoy. Any suggestions what I should do tonight? Greg, I mean, how did you celebrate the wins previously?
Usually pizza, cupcakes, you know, usual.
Doesn't sound like they were big deals for him. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I want to thank everybody as well for tuning in. I don't know how many people did actually end up tuning in, but thank you for making this what it is, which is ultimately a fun event with a bit of banter. And, you know, it's good for people like me and Greg, who we're the nearly guys, you know, in chess. We're the nearly made it guys, right? But that nearly is not, you know, a finite thing. I mean, things can change. And I'm actually going for my title, guys, just so you know. It's official. And I hope, Greg, that you do too. Because I don't see why you can't. I mean, you're strong enough. Maybe someday. Well, I'm throwing my ring in the hat, and I think we should get a bunch of us in this tournament to go for it and make way for a new wave of IMs, and we won't be able to play anymore.
Yeah, well, won't be able to invite you guys back if that's the case. I think that's the only thing that sucks about that.
That's c'est la vie.
Oh, this was a very, very exciting match to you both. I mean, as you guys said, trash talk and banter, it made it exciting. The fans were certainly engaged from both sides in the chat. Lawrence, congrats. Very deserving winner, but you know, the overall is only 2-1. So there might be another match in the future
for sure
between you two.
For sure. I mean, if I see Greg posting pics on Instagram in a Tibetan monastery, you know, doing you know, deadlifts with
that's what we do in the monastery.
With Tibetan monk and studying a bit of Dvoretsky. Maybe I'll accept. You know, I need to see a real effort from Greg though. bit too nonchalant for my liking, a bit too blasé.
You were so nice at the beginning of this interview. What's happened? You revert right back to your... Oh. And you know what's funny? He didn't think he was going to win this match because his trash talk was terrible.
I'll be honest with you.
He thought
I'll
he
be
had
honest with you. I had no idea.
He's like, is this a dream? Is this really happening right now?
I mean, this is, look, a lot of people own Luna, and 1 minute it's $80 and you wake up the next morning it's $1, and they are saying the same thing. Is this a dream? You and the guys who have invested in all these Ponzi's, you're in the same boat now. It's unreal. It's just,
how did you transition from that to what's going on?
Yeah, I swear a minute ago he was saying, "Great job, Greg. Real character. Love to
now
have you."
and all of those things stand. And all of those things stand. But even with the greatest of men, they sometimes have to just come back down to earth. And I think tonight is a humbling night for Greg Shahade, in a good way.
Well, Greg,
this will make you a better person, Greg. Trust me. This loss will make you a more rounded.
Robert, you had a question.
I think there must be a silver lining here, right? That you said in your video you couldn't trash talk Lawrence because you don't trash talk people you think you're better than.
Exactly. I didn't trash talk at all this week. I was just telling everyone how good he was and to comfort him.
Yeah, sarcasm aside, now you are able to trash talk him because he just handed you a beatdown.
I mean, I wouldn't call a beatdown is like a strong language.
Maybe not a beatdown. Maybe not, but I mean, to be honest, Greg, there were. I reckon there were like 4 or 5 games where I should have.
What if I could take your knight on G4 the one game?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, you missed that.
That was where the whole match.
Yeah, actually, goodness, if you take that knight, it's suddenly just a flip, isn't it?
Yeah.
Actually, all of a sudden, yeah. So I think we both. Yeah, we both missed our chances, but Lady Luck, Kaisa, whatever you want to call her, was on my side tonight, and to celebrate, I might go and get upgrade my membership in the gym and get the CrossFit package. In Greg, with the money I've won from this, I can do that. But where I live, it's reasonably cheap, so I can get the gold package, and in your honor, Greg, I will. Do some lunges and try and walk on my hands for a week. If you want, I mean, you can say no, and I won't do it.
You won't do a lunge if I say no. Do 5 burpees right now. Come on, right now.
Burpees are one of the ones I can do because we do that. But yeah. And are we blabbering on now? It feels like we're blabbering on a little bit.
Yeah,
well, it's not really our show. I mean, you guys brought the entertainment. So whenever you're done hosting.
There was an F1 equals knight, apparently.
Oh yeah.
When was that?
The game where there was a pawn on F2 and a pawn on D3, and someone went rook takes D3. I forget even who was.
Oh, I had F1 knight.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. It was a cool one for a draw, I think.
Yes.
That was an insane game as well. There were a lot of insane games, actually.
Wasn't that the knight D3 game where you hung your piece?
Yes.
Yeah, knight D3 is where I hung my piece.
Okay, same game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, to even fight from there is, I think shows a lot more.
I think the blunders were like Greg's blunders were a little more like tactical in nature, and Lawrence's blunders were just pieces sitting there that should be taken. But there were some from both sides.
I felt as though when I got Greg into a dogfight out of these classical orthodox positions, actually you struggled a lot tonight. Just with knight, just throwing my H pawn up the board. I mean, you were just lost out of the opening, like immediately in a bunch of games. Your Grunfeld. I thought I'd test you in your Grunfeld. So you knew that back to front.
Listen, I'm ready to play again tomorrow. I can't take this anymore. Reschedule like a new tournament, and
I am still not a GM. SCC.
That's right.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, guys, it's been a pleasure having you on. Lawrence, I guess we'll definitely be seeing more of you in the next round.
I'll be back.
You certainly will. And
I
Greg,
can't believe he just had to say, I'll be back. What?
Yeah.
Greg, we'll miss you. You know, I'm sorry to say that you have to go, but only one of you can move on, and this time it's Lawrence. But we look forward to the rematch between you two.
Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks Robert and Amon for the commentary and all the staff at chess.com. You're all the best. Thanks
guys. It's been
Lawrence too for the match.
Yeah, thanks gentlemen. GG's and congrats
Cheers.
again, Lawrence. We'll be seeing you back for more.
Thank you guys.
Wow. Well, we see here Lawrence is the second player to make his way through to the quarterfinals, and he awaits the winner of the match between Alina Kashlinskaya and Carissa Yip. So that's the 5-12 matchup on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Lawrence, you know, he had a great showing today, Amon, and next round it just remains equally as tough.
Yeah, that's the thing with these tournaments, Robert. It doesn't tend to get any easier, and especially when you are the one that's getting the upsets. I mean, you're probably going to be also the underdog in the next match, at least on paper. But Lawrence is saying, look, that doesn't matter. I was able to win this match, and you know he's going to look to keep doing that in the tournament. But pretty exciting. It was honestly, you know, it feels like a 4-point match win, but it wasn't at all 4-point match difference the entire way. It felt like neck and neck. Greg was a point away. It was tied. Lawrence was a point away. I mean, this was everything people asked for, I think.
I think that people are going to ask for more, because now that Lawrence is talking a big game, he finally wins a match, and now he's the king of the castle. And Greg said, I'm ready to throw down tomorrow as well. So we'll see if a rematch can be put on the books. But Amana, I think Lawrence did play the better chess today when all is said and done.
He did. I actually agreed with a lot of his takes in general about the games. I think he did put in some real chess work on his openings. Caro-Kann. I think his selection was really good, and Greg just wasn't getting anything out of the opening with white, and then with black, sometimes he was worse out of the opening. So it definitely felt like that sort of match, and the only chance for Greg was going to be in the bullet. And I mean, bullet, anything goes, and you know, as Lawrence kept alluding to, luck was just a little bit on his side today.
And then Lawrence awaits the winner of the match between Alina and Carissa, as we were mentioning. And we're going to see the same level of trash talk between those two, right? It's guaranteed.
Yeah, I think we got the Twitter videos already queued up over there with the producers, I think. Yeah, no, it should be pretty exciting. Those two are pretty known trash talkers in the community.
Well, Alina, she made her way to the finals 2 years ago, so she is, of course, a tough test for anyone. And Carissa, she's only getting stronger. She's a teenager. The IM title is hers for now, but I think she's one of the players in this field who is most likely to become a Grandmaster in the next few years. But Amon, it's been an absolute blast. I mean, how could we not enjoy a matchup between Lawrence Trent and Greg Shahade?
No, this was a lot of fun. I mean, those two are just natural on the mic as well. You can see from the post-game interview. Fun. I had a good time commentating as well. Hope you guys did in chat. Definitely seemed like a pretty back and forth match. So fans of either side, it's something to cheer for. And the good thing is that, what is this, the second match of the tournament, Robert? There's so much more in the I'm Not a GM tournament that you guys have to look forward to.
And so many fan favorites remain in the field. Eric Rosen hasn't played yet. Danny Wrench dusting off the corporate jacket, putting on chess-playing gloves, and he's going to play against Justice Williams. So, matchups galore. Canty against Kavutsky, just everywhere you look, there's a great matchup. And don't forget, tomorrow, there are 2 Junior Speed Chess Championship matches. We go from one SEC to another here at chess.com, and it's going to be Hans Niemann versus Kirill Shevchenko, followed by Nihal Sarin and a Wonder Liang, a doubleheader on your Thursday. You will not want to miss either of those matches. But for now, we say goodbye, and we will see you tomorrow with more chess here at chess.com.
See you guys.